Listen to the LARP Lounge live on Sundays at 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time at twitch.tv/Arrustar. That's twitch.tv/ARRUSTAR.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 2 of the LARP Lounge. Today we will be talking about the various kingdoms in the land, or the continent, I guess, of Terath is what it would be.
It's kind of split into two. It's a big two different continents on one giant island.
The world itself is what? Cerealia?
Cerealia is the world.
So this is the one continent that we're going to be talking about today. And here we have our guest.
I'm Duargo. I'm a Parthan Black Knight. We'll get more into that later, I'm sure.
Yeah, if we have time, we're going to talk about a few of the classes today, Black Knight and White Knight. So you had a perfect way of describing. We've gone over races before, but for anyone that wasn't here for that, how would you describe a Parthan?
So a Parthan, for those who have played Skyrim, or any of the Elder Scrolls series, a Parthan is pretty much a Khajiit. They are cat folk. They usually more covered in fur. They've got tails. Show my left tail. It's got tails, ears. So all of your basic cat-like features that you would expect.
Proceed says D&D Rakshasa. That's another good way of putting it as well.
Or Tabaxi from 5th edition.
Yep, Tabaxi from 5th edition. Yep, that is Crow, by the way.
Oh. Hello, Crow.
So what's up, guys? How you doing? Hey, what up? Before we even get started, I want to talk about the missing ear. I've never asked you in game because that's kind of an insensitive thing to do, but I've always wondered what's the story behind the missing ear.
So this character, he was lost for 2 years in the desert. He, and as his, kind of almost as a penance for his lack of navigational skills, because he was his group's ranger and guide, he cut it off because he was like, it was the best thing that he could think of and have that constant reminder to not let himself get lost again. So that's why he has the one ear and doesn't allow it to grow back.
Oh, it can grow back?
Well, because, anyone,
magical.
if you go through like the Circle of Life or Grand Well-Being, anything that was lost previously should grow back. But unless the person is not willing to let it happen. So he does that as his own kind of constant reminder. So
you willingly... No ear. No, that's crazy. That's cool to think about, though, so... Alright, well, let's get into the kingdoms. Let's start off with the important one, where, of course, our adventuring town resides, which would be the kingdom of Falkengard.
Falcon Crest, yes.
Falcon Crest, that's right.
Named after its king, King Alaric Falconcrest. Falconcrest is actually one of the kind of younger kingdoms in Terath. It hasn't been around for very long. It's only been for about 10 years as an established kingdom. And it's kind of grown over the years. It kind of happened during the War of Draconic Domination and the War of Kings, which I'm sure we'll get into at some point. It's kind of a newer one. They're known for a lot of their low taxes, expansive politics, and they defend their citizens very fiercely. And it is, like you said, the main one. It's kind of on the, if I remember right, kind of the southern part of the continent of Terath.
I think so. I think we can... Oh, no, we can't pull up the map because it doesn't work, right?
Yeah, they would not see it. But if you go to mythicrealms.com, you can find that map.
Yeah, it's in the...
library.
It's in the library, yeah. They have maps, so...
Yep, there it is. Boom.
Nice. Perfect.
There's a link.
Since I've pushed those buttons.
So, yeah, it's in the library. I think there's another place. If you go to the standard rule book, I think it's in there as well.
The rule book will go over the two different continents when you're making your character, so you can decide... Oh, I like my character. He's very military background, so I looked through the map and found, oh, hey, here's a map, the country that works for him.
Yeah. So who is the current residing king and queen of Falconcrest?
The current king is Gilrandir Galathule. He used to lead the armies of Falconcrest during the War of Kings. He started his own legacy as a squire to a knight. So he always kind of had kind of that leadership role. He always was kind of in that knight position. So he had the upbringing of the knight, where you learn he is a white knight, which we'll also cover. He's known to also be kind as well, which is kind of important because some people always think knights can't always be kind, or they can be book smarts. So for him, that was kind of important. And he also is an Earthwalker, which are basically druids. He has respects for nature, so he kind of over-encompasses everything and tries to make everyone in the kingdom of Falcon Crest feel welcome. He actually isn't royalty, so to say, because he was kind of forced onto the crown by the previous king, King Falconcrest, in 214, which was 6 years ago, because at the time he was just a general in the armies. But they liked him so much from being able to get to basically bring a stop to the War of Kings, which was shattering the world at the time.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't know. We did talk about it just very briefly last week, but Gilrandir was actually a playable character.
Yes.
So he was one of us before he became king of the world. So you can become someone very important in this game.
You can get very, very high up, and a lot of the player characters do that. Yeah. But he's also retired, so he only comes in physically comes in, but he'll, still do decrees and everything.
I didn't know he was also an Earthwalker. That's kind of weird.
Yes, he is. He's kind of a well-rounded guy. So an Earthwalker and a Lightwalker at the same time.
Wow. That's crazy. That's a lot of codes to have to follow. But the Earthwalker code is much more lenient than the Lightwalker code.
It's definitely not as strict. It's just kind of show a good respect for nature and the druids, all that stuff. I don't know that one as well.
Yeah. I did. I am following it now, actually.
You got a magic item.
Yeah.
You have to. And then the queen right now is his wife, Natasha Galathule. She is also a former character as well. Because she was, again, like us, she went through the ranks. And so she became another part of the queen. So their characters married. She is also a Parthen, like me. Queen, but her normal name is Natasha Silvermoon. So Galathule was her married name, but she just goes by that because she doesn't really. A lot of people kind of give her a bit of crap for being a Silvermoon, because Silvermoon, the most other popular is Averick Silvermoon, who is a vampire lord. So people don't like that she's related to a vampire.
Well, wasn't Averick...
Averick did start off as a Parthen as well,
but wasn't he the warden to Galathule?
Yeah, he was the warden to Galathule.
Yeah, so that's kind of a funny little circle.
That little tight-knit, try to keep all the royalty. But she also was known for leading a lot of the Healers Guild, so she's kind of more... She still can fight, but she's more kind of on the healing side of things. She's known to have slain demons with a magic warhammer, befriending ice giants in Laroth, but Laroth, that is that southern continent, but we don't talk about them. And she also was kind of also known to fight off magical compulsions of the father of monsters, Typhon. Not a very nice guy. Oh, hey, you got the shield. That's cool.
Yeah, that's my emote for people that are subscribed to the channel. And that's Nevitz. You can guess who that is.
It's probably... I'm just pulling a blank right now. I'm sure once you...
Boji.
Oh, Boji.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So that's why he said stop hammer time.
Beautiful. So Parthens are not a natural race. They're kind of considered as monsters, but they became more civilized throughout the years. So it was kind of a good thing that they did, because otherwise Dorga would not be here.
Yeah. There's a lot of Parthens that wouldn't be there.
Yeah. She doesn't also have a lot of authority in, as would Gilrandir does, but she still does have kind of a sway over the political landscape. So she's there. She's not as important, but she still does have a say in things that go on.
Now, who is heir to the throne should something happen to King Gil?
If I remember right, I had it. I think it is, right now, it is Prince Eric.
Prince Eric, yep.
Hey, those cookies were forced down everyone. That witch did not tell them they were Parthens. Also, I know you eat Parthens too sometimes, Crow.
That's what he's referring to mostly. Yeah, right now the heir is, since they don't have a child, the heir is King Eric Falconcrest, so it'll actually go back to the Falconcrest
names instead of the Galthules.
Yeah, so that's kind of crazy.
Hair gets caught in the teeth, though.
Oh, jeez.
That's why you just go for the skinless ones. Go for orcs, goblins, or you just milk a kobold.
Oh. That's a story for another day.
So that's kind of the basic overview for Falconcrest that I have and that I know.
Okay. Yeah, that covers well. I didn't realize it was such a recent kingdom, so...
Fire solves the hair issue.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, you're not wrong. Fire solves a lot of problems. Yeah, it is kind of a newer one. I think there were other kingdoms, and it was part of other baronies that were in the area, but an official kingdom hasn't been sent, is only fairly recent.
Okay. That's cool. That's something I did not know, so look, I'm learning along with you guys.
The more you know.
Yeah, the more you know, that's right. Alright, so go ahead and what's the next one that you wanted to talk about?
We'll go to my character's home country of Ibris, which is to the northwest of Falconcrest. It is kind of a coastal region. It's on the western border. A lot of the north, it's primarily a militaristic kingdom, kind of a firmer role on gender views. So a lot of the other player characters, when they meet in Ibrin, usually get met with some surprise. Like if there is a female power leader, the males will try to find a male that is more in power first, rather than talking to the female, because females in that society are kind of viewed on the lower end of the spectrum. It's also expected, just Terath today.
Yeah, probably just Terath, yeah.
Because, let's be real, no one goes to Lorath anymore, except for odd plot and characters who's born into Lorath and they have to go there. So it's also kind of expected for each, the first male of each generation of each family is expected to join the military. Obviously, they're not restricted to just the first son. So my character, he's got a brother, both him and his brother join the military, even though my character is the oldest of him and his brother. And they're usually also the other males are also expected to kind of go into other positions. I mean, that makes sense for them to go back if they ever need to.
Yeah, we're working on some stuff in Lorath, so it's kind of sad that it seems like they're cycling it out. But
yeah, I mean, it's kind of a crazy land.
It is crazy. So there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens there. But yeah, we are from Lorath. Not a lot of people know that in game though. So.
No, I wouldn't. I would have thought from Falconcrest or one of the others. They're also kind of expect, if they don't serve in the military, men are supposed to join. Do other things like farming or blacksmithing, not more as domesticated work. That's more for the females. So females would be doing the laundry, they'd be doing the merchanting, because the men also are kind of above in their society of handling cash. So they would have women do the merchant work, women doing shopkeeping. Men would try to barter in their society. A lot of them also follow the path of the Nightwalker, which also a lot of their knights have to, because their knights are black knights. So for me, for the longest, when my character was starting off, before he became a knight, we had one female player in our little black knight group who would carry our cash for us, because the men would be like, oh, that's above us to carry cash. Mercenaries are also looked down upon as well, but they have their own group as well. They're not officially recognized by the crown, though, because taking money for hire is kind of that's kind of women's work.
Oh, yeah. And
kind of frowned upon by a male, because it makes them seem as weaker in their society, but they'll still respect them.
Okay. I was wondering how Zyra became your guys' treasurer, because that seemed like she almost seems like a position of renown in your thing, but apparently it just seems more of a cultural thing.
Yeah, it's kind of a cultural thing, because a lot of the other the other characters in the group, they're a little bit more strict on their views. Mm-hmm. My character was kind of loose on it, so he was kind of okay with it, but yeah, the others would not carry the cash at all. They have to go to her for the payments. They go if they want to buy something. She keeps everything. We rescued Zyra because we saw her getting attacked, and we're like, hey, we need someone to carry our money now that we're out. So we just kind of rescued her and picked her up.
So since you brought it up, what's the name of your group that you belong to?
My group is called the Jarsthae. He's not a full member anymore of them because being a Black Knight, he has to focus more on his Knight Order instead of them. But they were all a group of military veterans. They served together during wars in the the time of like the early 2000s or the 200s. Sorry, because we take an extra 0 out for the years in the game. So they served for years, and then once they got out, they still just kind of stuck together and became their own little adventuring party. And then they went down to the town, and then things went south as soon as we showed up. The king gets murdered, and then they got replaced, and it was just a whole big political mess.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Some of the important figures, the main one right now, Queen Vivian Fallion is the current queen after she usurped the previous King West because he was assassinated during a political coup during the summer that my whole group came in, and they thought that we had something to do with it. Yeah, people, they met us, and then that happened. They met us the night before, and then the very next morning, all of this political coup happened, and then they just see us, and they're like, did you do this? Are you a part of this?
Oh, that's funny. Talk about bad timing.
Well, no, it was, because the night before, the leader of their knight, which is kind of their, in a position of power, but not like the queen, Lord Knight Kadaris, he leads their Black Knight groups and most of the armies. And so he was also trained by Queen Fallion's brother, King Fallion, the Red. So he's kind of ambitious, a true patriot. And so he came in and we helped him, and then the next day, so we have to respect him because he's a Lord Knight, and at the time we were just low veterans. So we had to respect him as a position of power. And then we were like, oh, hell. We just helped do a political assassination.
Wow, that's crazy. So you said that they don't usually, if there's a woman in power, they try to find a man in power. So who do they try to circumvent the queen, or do they still go to her? So
since she is so the knights would be reporting to Kadaris, but if the queen was talking to them, they still do listen to her, because they are, if they are active followers of the path of the Nightwalker, they have to respect people in a position of power, even though they might not think she's deserving of that respect.
Okay.
So yeah, they kind of think since she's still kind of a newer queen to the throne, she because it's only about 2 years this upcoming summer, she's still fairly new, so they're still kind of seeing how she's gonna lead political rumors. They're still kind of distrusting of her, but they'll still listen to her because she's on the throne. Yeah. So therefore they have to.
Okay.
Those are the two main leaders of the throne right now in their political landscape. So we'll move on to the next one.
I'm not familiar with any of the kingdom names, so I can't ask you. What's the next one?
Ibris is kind of...
I am familiar with Ibris, though, because I remember that's where you guys are from, and you guys are called Ebrins as citizens of... And then citizens of Falcongrast are just called citizens of Falcongrast. They don't have a fancy...
Yeah, they're not like... Norovai, that's the next one we'll cover, Norovo, which is their neighbor to the east. They're called Norovai. Theirs is a weird one because they have a very small human population, yet humans are the main people in power. A majority of the people who help rule Norovo is humans, even though they've got a more diverse population of dwarves, Parthens, and a few elves. Not a lot, because elves are kind of hated in that country. They're kind of more of a off-putting climate. They're a lot of heat, a lot of cold, very high extreme temperatures, so not a lot of people can thrive in that place unless they are... But a lot of them are also migratory. There are a lot of traveler nomads. So they don't always stay, but the few cities that do are permanent because they realize that you can't always roam all the time. The north is kind of more to the northern part of the country is more of where the nomads live. The south is the more established countries. Otherwise, most of them trade for everything. They are where a lot of the ritual components that casters need, because they've just got mines across the whole country for some reason. So the ruling country is, they don't really have a set queen, king. They've got representatives of each of the tribes there. So it's kind of a conglomerate, very much like the barbarians from Hadrinus, which we'll also cover.
So you said that humans, so what else resides there besides humans if the humans are the least populated?
The majority of the other residents, they used to be a colony of elves, so they do have a small, it's mostly elves, Parthens, and dwarves are the main population of Norovo. They still do have humans scattered about, but it is kind of weird that humans are the one, because their monarch is a human, and they're verdant, so that the other people on the kind of the group, the councils for Norovo are 2 Parthens and a dwarf. So it's kind of a weird one.
That's cool, I didn't know that.
Their monarch, the human, Kazam III, kind of took the throne begrudgingly because he doesn't like to rule. He's just kind of forced into it because of his father. He just more likes to throw parties. He's very kind of a hedonist. He just wants to drink and be merry, and he's just happy with the other parties to rule, but he also does still make appearances when they want to see the monarch. The other 3, Hazara is the leader and the longest serving member of the council for about 20 years or so, because she's not really magically enhanced like some of the other ruling parties. Like Queen Falion has been alive for 8 centuries.
Wow.
So but she still looks like she's in her mid-20s because of magic. Hazara is kind of been ruling for 20 years. She kind of represents the majority of the Parthen clans. Although a lot of her authority has kind of been subsided by the other Pride Lord, Firefoot, who's the other Parthen on the council right now. He's actually not from Terath originally, he's from Laroth. And he kind of lived in a jungle, emerged, and helped defend Norovo during Typhon's invasion when there was orcs, goblins, and other monstrosities that arrived. And he's kind of taken up a leadership in the tribes, and a treaty also grants the Pride Lord to strike down any proposed laws, so he can veto anything that he deems that would not help Norovo as a whole. Kind of like the checks and balances in our own government. He's one part of the branch, and he's kind of a lot of people have a throw up about him because he was an up and coming underdog. Not a lot of people were expecting him to take power. The other one, Karad Earthbrewer, of course, dwarves always have to have fun names like that.
That's a very dwarven name for sure. Yeah,
dwarf brewer, stone hammer, things like that. He kind of mostly serves a large stake of land in the. He mostly owns the mines up in the north, so that's why he's got his position of power. And he's kind of also helps do all the trading for the country. He kind of hasn't been seen from the other dwarves in quite a while, though. So right now it's Parthens and the humans are the main body who are around at the moment. The other one, who's kind of a weird one, not a lot of people know about him, is a kind of a magic being called the Verdant Lord. He is kind of this enigmatic entity, kind of ruling over a jungle in Norovo, which is weird because most of the other parts of Norovo are desert. It's warm or cold, mountains, vast dunes, and he is kind of known to collect servants, kind of almost a brainwash in a sense. And he's still kind of as a mystery. No one really knows kind of what he wants. He's got a servant, Kobayashi, who kind of does, again, also another mysterious man. Not a lot of people know about him. He's just kind of there and helps out. So it's kind of hard to talk about him because not a lot of people know about him.
Yeah, there's not much known about him, yeah.
So they can't really say much.
I don't think that we've ever had any dealings with the Verdant Lord before. So.
Not anything recent. Most of it would have been through, like I said, most of it's through Kobayashi, which we've dealt with him.
Have we?
Yeah, I think he's come in a couple times. There are also, like I said, there is still some elf tribes who wander around, but elves are not very well looked upon. They kind of are almost as racist as what a Parthan would be if they went to the Elfin Spire, which the Elven countries, because they were apart from Narova is always going to be hold as much contempt for elves as they would to them, because they wanted to split off Narovo, and the elves were not happy about that. So now they just kind of hate each other. Let's actually go to Elfin Spire next.
Okay.
One of the elf kingdoms. They were already here in Terath when everyone else kind of came in, because Terath wasn't always inhabited by, the Parthans, the dwarves, the barbarians. We kind of all came from a different planet. So this is also kind of a newer continent. It's only about, I think, 2,000 years old, which is how, Queen Palian and all the other people would have been alive for as long as they have been. They're kind of an elitist, kind of your very typical elves from any fantasy, kind of your almost like high elves, not like wood elves are very high society. They look down on other races, but they still do focus on a lot of their knowledge. They're more of a knowledge-based society rather than fighting and other stuff. They're kind of also isolated because they've got a magical border stretching around.
Just my bot talking.
And your Dragon Gold.
Yeah, Dragon Gold, that's right.
That's that highly sought out after.
Yeah, in our world, in Mythic Realms, Dragon Gold is extremely rare and price
People will
fluctuates
pay,
what it's worth.
Yeah, no, they'll pay 20 gold just to have like 2 or 3 Dragon Golds sometimes.
So.
But so they are also kind of a wide selection of attitudes on magics and everything. Also, a lot of it was also flooded out as well. So the tower that you can see is pretty visible, but there's at least 80 floors and about, even though I mark it, 2.5 gold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds about it. I don't know. Dorgo doesn't mess with Dragon Gold yet, so he doesn't have to.
Yeah, I don't mess with it either. I don't know. I haven't even seen one other than on the talk show. Like, I've never seen one in game, so. Because there are no more dragons to trade them to for more, yeah. Dragons is where the value comes from Dragon Gold, because they value them above other currency,
Yeah.
so.
Maybe when you come back from the Hall of Doors, we'll get some more. Crow.
Dragons were buying them for 10 plus gold, yeah.
I'm sure Lord Bitterbeer has an excess hiding in his storehouse.
Oh yeah.
So the kingdom, they value knowledge and magics, and they don't have, this side of magic is bad, this side of magic is good. They kind of see it just as a magic. Like their views on necromancy, which is mostly in the kingdoms of Terath widely considered illegal. Mm-hmm. There's some situations where it's okay, like my character, as long as I am in Ibris, he can cast necromancy. And none of us have an excuse. Excess. A couple of us have a few is all.
Yeah, I don't know that you ever have even if you had 10, I don't know that I'd call that an excess, because it's still super rare, but.
It's a rarity. So for example, like their views of necromancy are kind of, they don't consider it as dangerous itself. They view it as if it's in the wrong hands is when it becomes dangerous. So as long as you're using it in the correct ways, they don't really care. Although they still have their own laws about who can cast it and whatnot, because they have to be very cautious, because they don't want necrovoids. But they also think that Mystic is on the other side as well. They believe that mystics create these pools of this energy that can cause other spawns to come out of them. And they just kind of also believe in the circle of life. They die, they become grass, and then they get eaten, and so forth. And it just kind of goes through that whole process.
What's their view on abyssal?
Most countries hate abyssal magic. That is one of the few recognized magics that they will not allow for knowledge, because abyssal almost destroyed the world, and so it is across all of Terath. It is considered illegal to try to study and know more about abyssal magic, as we all found out during Winterfest last year with Leaf.
Yeah.
Another story for another time.
We've talked about it a few times on here. Not super in depth, but we've gone over it a few times, what happened there and everything like that.
So it's kind of a general, if you are caught with abyssal magics in Terath or items from the abyss, you will be pretty much killed and fined.
Yeah.
Especially if you are of sound mind, not kind of forced into being with it, because sometimes you don't remember having it.
Yeah, that's true.
So for them, kind of their politics and their leaders, not a lot is known about them, because you have to kind of be born into Eldenspire or have good contacts to kind of meet anyone in there and know who's who. Obviously, people still know who is in there, but they just don't come out as often, because elves are hoity-toity. Their king right now, who's been ruling for centuries, is King Rovius Gilbereth. He's kind of wise and old, but he's definitely that elf who doesn't like to go out. He's kind of is known about him. There is the oldest daughter, or the oldest son, Baron Valenoth Gilbereth of Shadar, because the kingdom of Elfenspire is divided into 3 different subsections. So each of his children rules a different section. So their title is what section they rule over. So Shadar is the oldest son. He's kind of a relaxed, nonchalant elf. He doesn't really like to meddle in politics, which is kind of not a good thing for an elf to do, especially if he's going to be alive for a couple hundred years. He kind of needs to be involved with his politics, because a century could go in the blink of an eye. Yeah. Then the Baroness, Calcenthe Gilbereth of Surdwin, is the king's only daughter. She's more known as the public face for Elfenspire. She is the only one that you can directly contact is the only one that you can talk to if you don't already have an inside contact. So she's the one who talks to new people who want to join into Elfenspire. And she kind of also helps everything else. Then the last son is the youngest of Baron Theron Gilbereth of Ilia. He is the youngest, not as experienced as his other siblings, but he is considered kind of older than he is in his mind. A lot of people have said that he's kind of more conservative, thinking like his elders. Very elitist. He doesn't really trust a lot of outsiders, unlike the other, like the Baroness, because instead of keeping recluse, the Baroness wants to open the doors for everyone else. So elves are kind of that elitist group sometimes.
I wonder, that's really weird, because as soon as you said the name Gilbereth, in looking for the Shield of Spring, I'm speaking to a druid Gilbereth.
And I'm sure it's like kind of a sub one. I'm not sure if any of those 3 are...
No, I don't think it was any of them. I don't know who it is. It's definitely not the last one, because he would be trusting a human with the information of the Shield of Spring. So.
It was probably one of their own children or someone else in the Gilbereth lineage.
Yeah.
But they also train a lot of very proud warriors, because they're very similar to... Ibris, where they started their children off young. They'll go from 10 to 14, and they'll only pick one weapon and become masters of their weapon. Very similar to the Bruce Lee quote, "I'd rather fear a man who has practiced one kick 1,000 times than 1,000 kicks one time," because they know what they're doing when they pick their weapons. So for them, they like knowledge, but they will defend themselves. Let's see, who do we want to do next? We'll go for Barbarian.
Yeah, let's do Hadrinus, because there's some stuff going on there right now, isn't there?
Vote for King Ragnar Tallcastle, future king of Hadrinus.
Yeah, they've got something going on called the Moot, which we'll talk about, I guess.
I'm sure we'll cover over that. So Hadrinus is kind of a southeastern kingdom, and they're considered as the barbarics throughout the rest of the world. A lot of them don't really view them as very civilized. Most of the barbarian races, because it's weird that barbarians in this world, in our LARP world, are not considered as a class, but as a race. Although people do usually build into the stereotypical barbarian rage man. But they, for them, kind of have a loyalty in ancient traditions. And they are also they're mostly sailors because they are mostly ocean locked, where they are. They're barbaric warriors, and they love adventure. They also kind of go for looser fitting clothing, so instead of like other ones where they mostly dress in leathers and finer silks, they're just kind of loose cloth and wools. Theirs is kind of divided into 5 different, very similar to Norovo. They don't have a king. They haven't had a king in several hundred years since Queen Octavia, or Queen Embla Veneer, one of the High Queen of Terath, left. So she used to be queen for Hadrinus until she left to go become the High Queen of the entire continent. So they still have just kind of been relying on the 5 clans, the Synod of 5, which is what's going on right now. They're trying to find an actual king to become a new king, because they haven't had one for a while. And just relying on these individual clans is not always the best. So they've got 5. The clan Sigurd of the West is they're also mostly barbarians, but they're known as raiders and explorers. Then there's Clan Asketh of the northern coast. They're mostly humans, excellent sailors and traders. Then there's Clan Boldir of the highland eastern mountains, mostly barbarians. They're warriors, blacksmiths, and beastmasters. So they'll bring in large, dire wolves and other beasts to help them in battle. Clan Veneer of the lowland southern coast, mostly humans. They are kind of the odd man out of all the clans, because they've also focused on magics mostly, instead of being these warriors, physical warriors, which is kind of why Embla is such a powerful caster. She learned from the best mages in her clan. And then Clan Nightwolf, again, another primary of barbarians. They're, again, raiders. So most of the barbarian tribes focus on hunting, raiding, and building these beautiful longboats. So they are your very stereotypical fantasy barbarians, where they just want to hunt, explore, and fight. Kind of their structure is they've got 3 different people in each tribe. So for their political landscape is just all sorts of crazy, because they've got the king up at the top, if they ever can get one. Then they've got the jarls of the clans. Then they've got the halders, and then they've got the thralls. So their whole tier in their political system is crazy, because everyone says, "Oh, I've got a right to the throne," which technically they all do, but it's so muddled that you can't really prove it, and it's kind of harder to describe.
Yeah. But there's a lot going on right now, not only with the Moot, but they've had some political things happening with, what's the other?
In Acheron.
Yeah, Acheron. They had a raid that happened that killed some politicians, basically, and someone from Ebron, I believe, was in that raid.
My character is studying and investigating that whole thing. So it was a counselor's wife who was accidentally killed in the raid, and then some shady dealings with the local Acheronian guards were starting to basically be more racist towards barbarians. They were kicking them out. And then the barbarians were basically trying to defend themselves, because the Acheronians were trying to throw them overboard and drown them. So a lot of political turmoil.
In the news, they did throw them overboard in the Bay of Hope.
Kind of in the middle of a lake that they can sail across.
And some of them, when thrown overboard, were still shackled. So you can understand that a lot of them died. So there's a lot of very much turmoil going on right now.
It's all crazy. But they were thinking that it was mostly just the one clan of Clan Nightwolf for some reason, which I do not know yet. But
Have you read the recent news on it?
I'm sure I'll get told about it.
Yeah, one of the, I think, Haldirs or whatever you said came.
It was a Jarl.
Yeah,
they knew it was a Jarl who did the raid, but there was subtle black market dealings in that.
Well, another one came to court and straight up was like, the raid may have been Nightwolves, but your reactions to Barbarian was not okay, and he basically threatened them with all-out war. He's like, so you need to make this okay, or we're going to have a problem.
Which is understandable if a majority of your peoples were forcibly executed without any sort of fair chance to fight back. So is not cool.
It's kind of crazy what's going on in the world right now. So
I'm sure my character will get a lot of that plot.
Yep, you will. So
because as a vengeance bringer, people came to me and were asking for, hey, these were unfaithfully killed. I want you to understand what's going on.
So yeah, and this is one of the things that's really cool about Mythic is that they have these otherworld dealings going on that don't necessarily affect the town directly, but they still, rather than just not do anything with it, they actually take the time to have political turmoil and other things happening on in the other parts of the world.
And it is cool, and it is nice that they do involve. Players can get involved in plot as by simply talking to an NPC. I talked to an NPC that was a Black Knight, and here I am now, a year later. Yeah. You can get involved so easily by just taking the time to talk to a player or to a NPC or a retired player. Yeah. So you can get involved very, very easily.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about Acheron, though, since we brought it up.
Flip over to Acheron. So they're kind of to the southwest across this body of water. They share borders with mostly Falcon Crest and Ibris as well. They are mostly a merchant empire. Although right now they are kind of in a period of recovery because their previous ruler, the Seer of Acheron, who was a powerful necromancer, kind of dominated most of the peoples and had them in fear for their very lives. So the merchants and the nobility kind of suffered under this very, very strict oppression by the Seer of Acheron's cultists. So they are kind of now that the previous ruling family, the Briseus family, has kind of come back, the merchants are coming back, and even after that, they are still considered one of the richest countries in all of Terath. They control a majority of the trade through everything going in and out. So they have very good sway in the political landscape.
What happened to the Seer of Acheron? Is he still a thing? Or
No, he has since been killed, if I remember right. He was a necromancer who was killed. He was killed during the 2212 from Falcon Crest adventure, so he is no longer alive.
Oh, we killed him. Okay, I was wondering if we had something to do with that.
Of course, a lot of players are from Acheron, so they were. Of course, they had a kind of a sway in it. Plus, he was not a very nice guy, creating a death cult, brutal laws, and rumors that he would basically promise people promises of immortality in helping him rule with an iron fist. So it is a good thing that he has been killed. Right now, the close counts, they still have a king, King Jezal Briseus, kind of a younger monarch. He is kind of a puppet head, so kind of like the Queen of England. She doesn't really rule England, but she is there and can still make laws, but she's not the actual true power. The true power right now is the closed council, which is mostly a merchant. So merchants rule the country for them. They act as advisors to the king, help them rule, and they are not, the ruling council right now is Lord Bort Bitterbeer, who is another player. He's a retired character. Lord Dansolt, Lord Philar, Lady Caspa, and Lord Icosial. Bitterbeer does come in quite a good amount. He is known for throwing gold at new adventures because he can, and he's got nothing else better to do with his money.
Yeah. I actually need to see his thoughts and his reaction to what happened in the tavern, how it got destroyed. So
he was not happy.
Yeah.
The first time that I saw him after that, he was very displeased that his tavern was destroyed and rebuilt and burned, and he doesn't like that there's still random portals hiding in the basement of the tavern. The most popular joke is, because we have a lot of players who have young children, that there's a baby portal in the basement of the tavern. So they and then also kind of another influential group who's not really in power, so to say, is the Sons of Acheron, kind of a patriot group, mostly aristocracy and families who were kind of ravaged by the Seer of Acheron. Most of them, they're kind of a patriarchal at best, very misogynistic, a little bit worse sometimes than Ibris. But they have been trying to improve the conditions of the people, so they are kind of considered as like folk heroes, kind of like the Sons of Liberty for us in the United States. Right now, kind of like the main, the balance of power is always kind of shifting within the closed council right now. So it also just depends on who is the main more money. Money for them is who decides who has more power. So right now, Lord Icosial oversees most of the judicial and logistical functions, or Lord Dansolt manages kind of the collection of taxes. And grants royal titles, because you can be nobility in that kingdom very easily.
Oh, wow.
As long as you have a stake of land and good money and you pay taxes to the kingdom, you can be considered as a nobility in their eyes. They also have, let's see, who else? Lady Caspa is kind of the royal chancellor. She's kind of the main advisor to the king, to King Briseus right now. Helps guide him. And then Lord Bitterbeer is kind of being abandoned. He's since he is kind of more he likes his adventuring lifestyle. Some people think he's not ready to do that full shift over to being a proper lord. He still wants to adventure and just be a tavern owner. So that's why he's kind of a crazy man. Yeah, it's very possible to buy the other kind of major power, not in any of like the leadership, is the banking house of Calder and Scales, who they're the main bank of the country of Acheron. They handle a lot of, they hire adventurers, mercenaries, kind of further their interests and expand kind of their bank and influence throughout the kingdoms. They're the ones who actually got attacked during the raid.
Yeah, that's why that name.
Which was weird because they nothing was stolen. So they did a failed raid, accidentally killed the Chancellor's wife, and then he just died. And then all that political crazy mess.
Yeah, that's crazy. All that for next to nothing.
They think that some shady dealings, they think that the Counselor wanted his wife killed, so he kind of bribed the Jarl of the Night Wolf clan to go and do this raid. Not sure exactly why they did, but like I said, my character is investigating it, so
yeah,
he'll find out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with all this, because it's kind of fun to see what's going on. Like, I mean, it's scary, but it's fun at the same time.
Yeah.
Like
it is interesting. I like it.
So.
Let's see. Who should we do next?
I don't know how many are left. I don't even
Let's see.
know.
We've got Chindius, Myzantius, Haven, and Ethlin Spires.
We already did Ethlin Spires.
Well, the Ethlin Isles.
Oh, okay.
You have a new follower.
Well, you? Hey.
Hello, new friend.
Hummel, did that just go off now, or did you repeat it?
I repeated it.
Oh, Hummel Fledermus. I don't even know how to say that. Anyway, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Hi, neighbor. Thanks for joining.
Hello.
I don't know why it popped up on the other side though.
It didn't show up over here?
Mm-mm.
That's weird.
I just glanced up and seen it on the screen.
Something must be broken then.
Well, we noticed you, new friend.
Yes,
So,
thank you.
1, 2, 3.
Let's go over, you mentioned it, let's go over Haven then real quick. So, I've heard that name. I know we go there a few times as well.
Haven is the next one. They actually kind of a South Watch. So North Watch is the main town that that the group that Mythic Realms is set in. So South Watch is kind of in that area as well. They were mostly also destroyed by the Forsaken, who were a race of kind of a sub-race of undead. Not very fun things to deal with. Theirs is a majority of Zelicu, which are considered as drow, or dark elves in other worlds, to kind of give you that kind of idea. A lot of them have kind of also traveled here from Laroth as well, and they've also kind of come up through a subworks called the Underrealm or the Underdark. Right now, the main king or the main ruler for Haven is King Vol. He's kind of the most cunning political figure right now throughout all the viewers and political leaders of Terath right now. Mostly because his kingdom doesn't have a lot of military strength at the moment. He's kind of a self-made man monarch. He is risen to power by his own wit, guile, and silver tongue. People also think that he kind of was a shady blood-filled past within his courts throughout his other nobles. But he is kind of a friendly, cordial man. High regard for honoring proper hospitality. Hospitality, I can say that, I promise. He is also a very powerful wizard. He is considered right now the High Wizard of the Roman Guard, and is also the leader of Imbla's magical scholars. So this king is training all the wizards for the Roman Guard, which is kind of the ruling body right now, if I can understand that right.
Yeah, I think so.
And also kind of lends his voice over to High Queen Imbla. The next one would be Central Celine, kind of one of the powerful house of Shen. She is a very capable and competent leader. She serves to facilitate communication and cooperation. So she kind of acts as the middleman through all the other noble houses in Haven. But she's also feared fiercely because she's known to be works for King Vol's group called the Vol's Elite, or guard spies and other agents acting on his behalf. So she controls the political underscape and kind of the under criminal world within Haven to get their information through everything.
That's weird.
And then the other most powerful one right now is the ritual spellcaster Lord Talendar, who was personally for kind of uniting the Zelicu houses and leading them to the surface. So he led the Zelicus out. So he is their king in a sense, but he is not the king. All Zelicus kind of look towards him. He is also a ward wizard. Which means he's very powerful, does a lot of damage caster instead of like the kind of stereotypical wizard from like D&D has to have all of his books.
Yeah, he focuses more on damage dealing.
So he is a very scary man to come up against in battle.
Yeah.
Theirs is kind of a, let's see, what other history can
What
we...
was his name again?
Lord Talendar
Okay.
is the war wizard. And he is the one who united the Zelicus. United all the... Because they were very dysfunctional before they came to the surface. They still are kind of seen and frowned upon and a little racist. Most people do not look kindly on Zelicus.
Yeah.
So, we'll do...
Where is our competitive mercenary town located?
The competitive Myzentius.
Are they in Myzentius? What are they called again, too?
It is... Oh, I'm totally spacing out right now.
I know, I don't remember what they're called either. Shoot. But they're in Myzentius. Maybe someone in chat can remember what they're called. But, yeah,
Crow, I'm sure you do.
Yeah, he'll remember. Somebody will, so.
Or it's in my notes here, I'm sure.
Could be.
The other adventuring town from Myzentius. Because that's the other town that we're going over, the other mercenary town down there.
Yeah, we deal with them occasionally. There was some tensions recently.
With not the Starfall Initiative. I thought there was. What's the other main adventuring town that we deal with?
Where are they located? Are they in Myzentius or are they somewhere else?
Is there an adventuring town?
Lamora and Ibris.
Yeah, Lamora. That's what it is. Sorry.
And Ibris, okay.
For some reason, I thought it was down there. But, yeah, they are kind of the main mercenary people throughout the kingdoms of Terath. People will go to Myzentius to hire mercenary groups because they are very fierce people there. The Mercenaries Guild kind of helps in the political faction of them. So regardless, if you're from Myzentius, then the people of Terath expected you to be they're expected to be mercenaries. People throughout the other kingdoms of Terath, if you said, "Oh, I'm from Myzentius," their first words are probably going to be, "Oh, so which mercenary group are you a part of?" Because that's just kind of what their history has been. Theirs is also kind of very like Acheron, where you can become a nobility and in power very easily. Mm-hmm. People will do competitions of stealth, strength, cunning, strategy, and these tournaments are very popular, and these displays of prowess have often been the way of giving contracts, which for them, mercenary contracts are very powerful. Mm-hmm. They would champions would also duel one another as well, so they do that. It's very interesting for them, kind of instead of focusing more on merchanting, they focus on mercenaries. Also, anyone can be challenged on their half, but if they refuse a challenge, that's very looked down upon. To refuse a challenge by combat. So if, let's say, you can do challenge for combat by anything, whether that's for marriage, property, title, wealth. Duels for them are a common occurrence.
Wow.
So they do, they can also, the person that's being challenged can step back from it, but they can also have a champion fight on their behalf.
Yeah.
Basically.
I think back in October we actually fought some Myzentian mercenaries, because they were one of the higher groups, and I know something like the king, the contract for the king's protection is coming up, so a lot of the mercenaries are trying to
vie for that.
Yeah, they're trying to vie for it, and that's why they were where we were. And so instead of vying for it, they ended up dying. They went up against us, but
yeah, they didn't want to tell. I think that was actually when we were doing the stuff with Albie and May's apprentices, because there was a Myzentian group that we were hunting down. So I think that was them.
Yeah, where they kidnapped them.
Yeah,
and they wouldn't tell us where they took them.
Yep,
that was them.
Yep, and I remember because I killed the other one when we found him again, because I told him to leave, and they killed them instead of leaving.
Yep. I remember. Yep. So we dealt with Myzentian just recently, not only a few months ago. So
plus, we've got a few notable people from our town who's from Myzentius.
Oh
yeah. That's not Sibylla. I'm forgetting her name. You know who I'm talking about. Always in black leather, kind of that swashbuckler. Leads the Corvid expedition. My character doesn't deal with her a whole lot.
Oh my gosh! Now that you say it, now I'm drawing a blank.
It's Kat's character.
Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about, and I just drew a blank now too because you said that. I know who it is, but Sitka.
Sitka, yeah. Sitka Andromeda is the most popular one right now.
Oh, okay.
No one really knows a lot about the other ruling families. So their political lead is kind of a weird one. Not a lot of people know about their landscape. So their main one right now is the Creon royal family. Over almost a millennia ago, the main one that kind of started that was Acheron the Lyrion, was a previous ruler, but was discovered to be a shape-shifting creature as a Forsaken. So basically, a Forsaken, an undead, was ruling the political landscapes, which is not very good.
No, that's
Where's
not
the
good.
rest of that? I thought I had the other. My Zentinus. Is that my Zentinus one? Is not. No, wait, it is. Okay, there's the rest of my Zentinus ones. So they're popular people right now. They've got King Satana Akita. He was a formal general of the Myzantine armies. He's also the shortest ruling one right now, because he hasn't been very long in power. But he died. He acquired the crown by defeating the former champion, former King Creon's champion, in duel. So he won the crown by saying, "Hey, I want that. I'm challenging you to a duel." Wow. And then he also got. He also still is kind of in control of the armies and territories. The High Council is the next kind of. They're also very similar to the other councils. They advise the king. They kind of also help run everything else that the king cannot cover himself. The next one for them it goes the king, this champion Karn, which I'll discuss, and then the High Council. So champion Karn is not a set each person is a different champion Karn. It's a title, so like Squire or Primus or Secondus. Those are titles, but they still have their own names, but they just go by that title. So the champion kind of also rules. It is the champion to defend the king's honor. So if the king gets challenged, that champion has to fight for the king to uphold the king's honor. And usually that position is for life until you die. So champion Karns go through previous. The most current champion right now is a halfling, Krovax Boone, but he's also the only halfling to have held that title, because halflings are not very tall and powerful people usually, which is also fun because he didn't actually win his in a duel. He didn't become the new champion Karn in a duel. He achieved his particular position through political moverings and impressive rise from the Mercenaries Guild. So he basically kind of bought his way in by helping the Mercenaries Guild. Oh, yeah. So he is the weirdest one. He's not known to fight. He's known more for kind of doing undermining and kind of the mental game for him. Then there is the Lord General. General Shulrazia is the kind of the general now, taking over for King Satana. He also he's kind of a very angry man, so pissing him off is not a very wise idea because he is very, very short-tempered. He also believes still that he's also very hesitant as well. He believes that the king still should see over the armies instead of him. Then there is Ambassador Gillian Glozin. He is kind of the intelligence networks, manages the spies, and also any foreign affairs. So any Myzantians, often in another country, who are trying to potentially start a war, that he's kind of in charge of them. Kind of helps rule them. And then there's the Captain Ilia Lauren, in charge of the King's Guard. She also kind of helps run things, but she runs the local city guard and helps with. Not a lot is known about her. She's kind of a newer person, so not everyone has had a chance to interact with her, see how she acts. Let's go to another friend. We got too many places.
Yeah, I didn't realize there were so many kingdoms on this.
Yeah,
continent.
there is about 13 or so different individual kingdoms. The one kingdom, though, that we'll not be covering because not a lot is known about this particular kingdom is the kingdom of Dragonheld, which is very far up to the north. A lot of people don't know about them because it's a very frigid place and not everyone wants to go there for whatever reasons why. But supposedly that's where the dragons sleep and where their holds are within the name. A lot of the tavern keeps go up there. Otherwise, not everyone knows what goes on up there.
Yeah, we've gone there a few times and we've encountered traps and very, very strong monsters. So it's not hospitable at all.
Not a happy place.
Yeah,
Somehow Banner always finds a way to get up there and not die.
Yeah. Well, Banner's pretty powerful. So
someday he'll be a dragon.
Yes.
Well, actually he was, but there's a little stuffed animal.
I heard that one.
very, very funny. Let's see. We'll do kind of the other part of the Elven kingdoms, the Ethlin Isles. They are the other second home for the elf peoples through Terath. And a lot of the Elven Spire was sunk. And so a majority of it is known as the Kingdom of the Ethlin Isles. Only the middle and upper floors remain right now. The rest of the land is being submerged by a very powerful tidal wave from Typhon. The Ethlin is kind of another kingdom of elves, some of whom were already present in Terath, some who migrated. They're kind of also slowly realizing their counterparts from the Elven Spire that they need to rely on the other kingdoms. They can't just stay isolated in their own little world, otherwise they will just get crushed and become obsolete. But they've never really also considered themselves a part of the empire of Terath. They still like to gather knowledge and go and ask for help when they need to. They're also mostly focusing on magics, so a lot of them are magic users of some form. They also their views of necromancy as well. They have a view that it's also a dangerous tool, but it shouldn't be abused. So they do very similar to their counterparts. They think that it can be helpful, but they just need to be very cautious about how they use it. Well, there are no real official rules on it. Anyone not using safeguards can be heavily fined. So you can still cast it in there. You just have to make sure that you are taking your right precautions when you are trying to cast it. But it has kind of heightened since the fall, because prior to the attack, they had a lot of resources using necromancy, and then just kind of got spread all the fall with making it mostly illegal. So it's kind of a crazy place for their magics. What other main things about them? Again, their ruling family is also the Gilbereths, so that's probably where you're hearing more about them.
Yeah, that could be it.
The only one that's not a Gilbereth that's in power is the general Vorhil Celestion, who recently fought with us during the killing of the crippled pale, or not the crippled pale one. The Lich. General Vorhil Celestion is
Last summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was in that fight because someone reached out to him.
I remember hearing that name, Vorhil Celestion. That's okay.
So he is the Grand Marshal of Rome. He is one of considered the oldest elves in existence. He has been pretty much involved in every military conflict in all of Terath's history. So he's somewhere around 2,000 plus years old.
Wow.
So he's a very, very old and very extensive person. Was during the Dark. His most recent ones, the battle last summer with the Lich, Kal'Zagor, the Dark War in Lorath, the Forsaken War, Typhon's invasion. He is considered one of the most skilled tacticians in all of Terath. He has trained pretty much any of the best warriors, kings, that have been in Terath. So if you royalty and you can get up there, he is the person to go to. He's trained the previous High King Arador Cardarel and King Charles Rezic Thalion the Red, previous king of Ibris, before he got exiled for his uses of abyssal magics.
Oh boy.
Which we still think Queen Thalion is involved with abyssal magics as well, like her brother.
Wow.
But not confirmed.
Yeah, no proof.
All rumors.
Yeah, no proof.
The ruling king right now is King Robius Gilbereth. He's considered very wise. He's, though in his youth he kind of was a skilled warrior, he tries not to involve his people in conflicts. Kind of like the Elven King from the Hobbit series, where he's just going to stay back. He's like, hey, it doesn't involve elves. I'm not going to get involved if I don't need to. He's ruled for centuries. He's really hasn't been seen since the Typhon's first invasion, when he's kind of still up in the spire, the very top spire of Ethlin. So no one really knows where he is. Then there is the Crown Prince Valanoth Gilbereth, kind of the oldest child, the next to inherit the throne. He likes to kind of spend his time as more of an instructor at the battle school that I was talking about when I was going over the Ethlin Spires. So he trains all these warriors. A lot of people kind of think he's a relaxed person, doesn't take his title very seriously, but none also question that he is suitable to rule. So they think that he should be just a little bit more serious, but he's not very... He's also kind of laid back at the same time. He still refuses to take over the kingdom, because no one can right now assure that the king is dead, and he doesn't want to take over until he knows that he's dead.
Yeah, nobody knows if the king's alive or dead, and they're trying to pressure him, it sounds like.
Yeah, he's like, hey, I will take over as soon as I know that my dad is dead. As soon as he is, cool, I'll take over. Then there is the lady Calisthin Gilbereth. She's kind of also, again, the other public face, so it is kind of interesting that both Elven kingdoms, they have a female who is their public liaison. She has also fully taken her political, unlike her brother Valanoth. She is also very open-minded, at least throughout all of the Gilbereth families. She's considered the most open-minded out of all of them. Then there is Baron Theron Gilbereth, the youngest child. So most of them have 3 kids, which is, for a local family, not that crazy.
Yeah.
He's also, again, inexperienced. So the younger children are always kind of seeming like they are just not very experienced, not really ready for the throne. He's also very old thinking as well. So both families are very old in their thinkings. The youngest children are more aligning themselves with the elders and the elitists, or they think, oh, we should only just involve with elves, we shouldn't deal with outsiders, get involved. So it is kind of an interesting split.
Yeah.
Between everyone. Not really sure why the two elven kingdoms are like that, but elves, like I said, they're just very picky like that to begin with.
Yeah.
I think that is actually everyone. We didn't do Chindius. That's one. Chindius. Chindians, they're also kind of a desert country as well. They're kind of the kind of a what is the best way to describe them? Kind of the Asian country, so a little bit. Kind of like Callian from Laroth, kind of a very set into traditions. They've got a long rainy season, so for mud, they've got mostly rice as their main produce. So for them, the Predia family is the main ruling body right now. They've ruled as long as the nation's existed, so no one outside of the Predia family has even been in some major political power. They were also another colony for the elves, so a lot of the elven kingdoms split off from them because they wanted their own independence, and the elven spiral does not really like that.
Yeah.
I get my papers mixed up. I think I did. Heck. Oh, no, there it is. Don't mind me with my notes. They've also got they don't also really have a king right now. They've also got kind of a smaller little council. They've got the ambassador, the general, and the scholar who kind of all meet, and they kind of rule right now. So they're still all Pretias though, but no one outside of the Pretia family has been involved. So the main one right now is Princess Maria Pretia. She's the ambassador. She's the second child of all of them. She likes to, very wise, very thoughtful. She tries to act as the kind of the diplomat for the country, obviously. Then there's Hector Pretia. He is the oldest child. He likes to do war games and weapons, so that's why he's always been considered as the general, the sovereign general. He's usually, though the armies are usually occupied though with doing civic building projects instead of out for war or defending the kingdom. They're known to just kind of hire adventuring parties to help them out for his own personal armory. He's married to Yasmin of the Creon noble family Myzentius, so they kind of have Chindius and Myzentius are kind of interconnected in that sense because of political marriages. And then there's Prince Eben Pretia, the only son of the actual queen. So the other two are related, but they're half siblings. So it's from Oswald, previous King Oswald. What's the other one? Fun fact: Maria Pretia has also been assassinated once, too. So because they were not very viewed upon as well.
Well.
They have also kind of become upfront because during the Red Hour, the political coup in Ibris, a group of Chindius Black Knights, kind of under Maria Pretia's guidance, helped with that political assassination. She's also been killed herself, too. But yeah, so he's kind of more study. Prince Eben's more on studying his knowledge, kind of learning more as much as he can. Also helps smooth the diplomatic hiccups between them and the Ethlin Spire because, they still want them to come back into the fold. Well, they are like, no, we want our own distance, please, no. They're also kind of the gypsy country of the world. A lot of gypsies come out there for their musics. Legend has it that the late queen once offered parts of the forest of Chindius. Hector announced that he wanted to make war machines out of his part of the forest. Maria announced that she would leave hers alone. So she's kind of known as the wise one because she is being smart and not just destroying the trees for either the war machines or for a library, like the other two brothers. Their largest racial group is mostly human, but they've also got troglodytes, which are kind of weird lizard people who secrete poisons from their skin. They've also got some orcs and elves. So they've got kind of a they're pretty free to roam around and intermingle throughout the societies. The only place that they're not allowed to is kind of a Fey Glen or Fey Glade that's in the middle of the city as well. But their lumber is kind of one of the more sought out things that a lot of people go to Chindius for as well. Criminals have been resigned to lumber camps for chopping wood rather than rotting in jail. Lumber camps are miserable, so it is a punishment to work into a Chindius lumber camp. Because they both serve money for jail and thieves and other elements. People will try to steal their wood because it is one of the more best quality wood that you can get in the kingdoms. Other than that, that's all the major kingdoms that I can kind of go over basic history. Like I said, most of this can also be found on the World Library. So
yeah, World Library, yep.
The World Library at mythicrealms.com. Another shameless plug, not going to worry. Any other kind of questions that you have about the kingdoms that I can try to answer for you?
I can't really think of any right now. Anybody in chat have any questions about the kingdoms or anything like that? Or?
We do kind of have some of the people who have been in the game itself, so they have also been playing much longer than I have. So my knowledge is very basic, but it's enough that for anyone who is interested, enough that it can get you kind of a generalized understanding as well for the kingdoms.
Real quick before we continue on to the classes, I have a question for you.
Yes.
And I ask all my guests this one. What does LARP mean to you? Like,
for me, what LARP means to me is I've always enjoyed acting and role playing. You know, I've been in theater, I've worked in haunted houses. But this particular LARP community, what it means to me, has been almost kind of like a second family. It allows me to a little bit more expressive, not to really care. I can immerse myself in this world and for a short while just kind of forget my troubles. So it is kind of an escape, and for a lot of us it is. It's just allows you to kind of escape and just kind of enjoy yourself and have fun when you get to pop yourself and your friends. Because
you gotta pop yourself.
I mean, sometimes you do. Sometimes you get whacked.
Yeah.
So that's what it kind of means to me, is an escape and a just to have fun and hang out with my friends. Because I've made plenty of new friends in this group, so that's what I like about it and what I kind of have taken away from it.
Nice. We hear that word a lot when we do those as family. We hear that a lot, second family a lot. So,
but it's, you know, when you spend multiple, like 4 or 5 weekends just camping and hanging out,
sure.
you kind of have to trust and get along and play with these people. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there in the first place.
Yep, that's very true. So, Jack Trace, hey!
Woo!
What's up, Jack Trace? Haven't seen you for a while, buddy. Now, welcome back.
Welcome, 3 months.
Subscribers, you gotta do subscription days. I gotta do subscription day. Yeah.
You gotta do
3 months in a row. Nice job. How you doing, Jack Trace? Let's see. Hey, how come that's not showing up?
I don't know.
Hey, buddy, long time. Is that what it says?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me pull this one up.
Long time.
Yeah, a long time. Well, and we did take like a 1.5 break, so we weren't doing anything. But welcome back. How? I know you had like a work injury or something. How's that going?
Hopefully you feel better. That's not fun.
Yeah. So. There's your
My Menpo.
Your Menpo.
Because this character is very much a Ronin.
There it goes. That took forever to show up.
I know.
I wonder why there's such a delay on that.
Who knows?
Easy. I'll just leave the other one up. Can you see that?
Yeah, we can. Okay. We're still fine,
yep.
So that works. Let's see. It's going okay. Probably have 2 years until I'm fully healed.
Oh, geez,
and now the other one's not working. What the heck? Oh, that sucks.
That's not fun. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So that's how injuries go, man. Sometimes though, sometimes they're quick, sometimes they're easy. Same thing with my wrist, man. Simple. I thought it was a simple injury, but it might affect me for the rest of my life. So
no, I'm like that with my foot. I can't stand on it too long because of a prior injury that I've had myself. Of course. And make sure that everyone feels better.
Yeah, man. No problem. I'm just glad I remembered and I got all the details right on that. So there's a few people, but I appreciate you being here though too, Jack Trade. So we just went over all the kingdoms in Terath. Now we're gonna go over a few of the classes, some of the different skills, and we're gonna go over the codes in them. Yes. So, real quick, let's take a real quick break. I gotta use the restroom. This Mountain Dew, this monster's going straight through me. So
we will be back.
Can you?
We're at Ascendance Gaming Center. So it's kind of a lounge gaming center. You can do VR, do PC gaming, general hangout spot. We have some board games. We have some retro consoles that you can play as well. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to bring back the feel of 80s arcades. You know, everyone would meet at the arcade and they'd have a good time, and that would be like the hangout spot. All the equipment's provided. We have top of the line PCs, you can log into your own services via Steam or Origin. You play any of those, download your own games and play them on our computers, and you're good to go. And we have a selection of VR games, about 600 or something games available. Every Monday we have a Smash tournament, a Super Smash Bros. Melee, and then once a month they do a monthly tournament. We're also hosting a CSGO tournament now, and we're doing a Hearthstone tournament and a Beat Saber tournament.
Listen to the LARP Lounge live on Sundays at 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time at twitch.tv/Arrustar. That's twitch.tv/ARRUSTAR.
All right, everybody, welcome back.
We're back.
I'm going to say real quick, it's not very easy to pee in this armor.
And that's why I'm glad I've got light leather and a tunic, so I don't have to worry about that.
Big one.
So, yeah, armor's definitely something to deal with. I don't know how they dealt with it back in the day, man. 'Cause
They just were men and held it, or they just let it happen.
Yeah, just let it happen. That's probably it. They just let it happen. But I know that when I have to go to the bathroom, I usually take my armor off because it's difficult. But anyway.
Yeah, that's why I'm glad I've got this very light tunic that has kind of an opening near the crotch, so I can just kind of lift them off to the side, and I'm just easy in that.
Yeah.
We've got more friends.
Anyway, do we have a new subscription?
Well, not new any subscriptions, but we've got more friends watching.
Yep. So.
It's not normal.
All right, so let's get into classes. Let's go over your class first, though. You're the Black Knight.
Yes,
So,
I am.
do the Black Knights have a code like the White Knight that they have to
so
follow?
they are very similar. They both people have kind of thought that the code has split off from an original one because, and I'll be going over both codes and the measures for each. They're very similar but very different at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So White Knights are considered more as a shield rather than the Black Knights, which are considered more as like a sword. So a Black Knight would rather go and kill something and just get rid of the problem rather than letting that thing potentially have a chance to repent and make up for its actions. They are very kind of like you're very similar. Like they would be considered as lawful evil or chaotic good rather than the White Knight, which is considered as kind of a lawful good.
For sure. Yeah.
They will do what needs to be done while not really caring for what other people might think of him. People usually do kind of have a negative connotation of Black Knights because Black Knights, originally before they've changed in recent years, got their powers from demons.
Yeah.
Which in recent years that has not been the case. They're more necromantic and their own inner vengeance for things. But they still do get a lot of crap because they cast necromancy, and that's still frowned upon by most people. That they would rather use the certain powers that they have to just kill their enemies and those who deserve vengeance.
I remember recently there was some controversy around you because your training deemed that you had to use necromancy, but we weren't sure where we were going was allowing it. There was a big old argument about it.
It was not fun. We had to go further deep, actually above ground, into the other country where we could acquire the title and everything for me to do my training. So my character has had a lot of kind of that controversy around him because of the path that he follows. Yeah. Because of just his upbringing. He's from even children are kind of expected at some point to try to be a Black Knight if they can.
Yeah, like that's like a perfect kind of example of how role playing works. Like I was totally against it, and me and him got a little heated. But here we are right now having a completely relaxed
the characters.
Exactly.
Characters can have the controversy, but
it's 100% the characters.
And it makes it just for more interesting instead of like everyone has that. Like D&D parties, like everyone has that character in their party who does kind of the off-brand things that no one wants to have happen, but the players don't really care because it just makes fun for good story.
Yeah. So, but that's like a perfect example of what good role play should be.
Yeah,
So.
it's being able to just know that there is a difference between the characters and the players.
For sure.
Hate the character, don't hate the player.
Exactly. Exactly.
So Black Knights are also different from their White Knight counterparts in the sense that they actually have organizations. So White Knights will work with each other, but they don't serve a lord, they don't serve a group. They kind of are a loose coalition, while Black Knights have orders, they have hierarchies that they have to work through. They have to pledge their loyalties to their code, to their groups, and they basically will stay with that group till they die. They are kind of those vengeance seekers for most groups. It depends on what group you join and what parts of the dedication that they focus upon. I didn't write that down because going through that whole thing is very long, very tedious.
They are definitely vengeance seekers, though. I remember there was
a lot of them are, yes.
I missed, and because a Black Knight took offense to something that was said, he had to he wanted to avenge the death of his brother that apparently our town had caused.
I had fun time with that because, so that was a fun time with that particular Black Knight because I ended up having to duel that Black Knight.
I remember that.
Because Crow, if you're still watching this, decided to say that I was a Black Knight. And then he got mad at me because of my beliefs, because I'm not supposed to back down from what I know is right. So I couldn't speak a falsehood, and I didn't want to have to take that back. So then that was a whole fiasco with him. Yeah, they usually will seek out vengeance, and like I said, they will do what needs to be done in a situation. Yeah. Rather than like, oh, hey, we've got this necromancer here. We know he's bad. We know there's not a lot of any chances for him to change. We might as well just kill him so we can't do this again. While the White Knight would say, no, let's give him a chance. Yeah. He deserves this mercy that we should give him because he is a living sentient thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the codes are very similar, and we'll go over them here just so that you can kind of get that idea, see the similarities and differences at the same time. So the Black Knight code says, "Thou shalt avenge the wrong. Thou shalt serve the Lord to which thou hast sworn fealty. Thou shalt accept no dishonor to be suffered without response. Thou shalt never recoil before thine enemy. Thou shalt never speak no falsehoods. Thou shalt always be faithful to your oaths. Thou shalt scrupulously perform thy noble duties. And thou shalt always be the champion of justice and honor against corruption and weakness." The opposite for the White Knights, so you can see kind of the contrast, they've got a very similar one where they say, "Thou shalt respect the weak and constitute thyself the defender of them." So a Black Knight won't necessarily, they'll still help out the weak, but they will not mollycoddle them. They would rather give them the power to do it themselves at some point rather than let them do it themselves. Rather than, oh, here, let me hold your hand, do it with you. They also do, "Thou shalt love the land to which thou hast sworn fealty to." So they would rather serve the country that they're in rather than a specific lord of their group. So my character, he is more dedicated to his lord of his knight order rather than the kingdom that he serves in. They also do, "Thou shalt be the champion and always, thou shalt be everywhere and be the champion of right and good against injustice and evil." So I would rather seek out and destroy corruption rather than just destroying in general evils. Mm-hmm. Rather that corruption is considered as a good person or a bad person. Their measure is, the Black Knight measures goes, "A knight is sworn to honor, his heart knows only justice, his blade destroys corruption, his might upholds his lord, his words speak no falsehoods, and his wrath undoes the weak." While the White Knight goes, "A knight is sworn to valor, his heart knows only virtue, his blade defends the helpless, his might upholds the weak, his words speak only truth, and his wrath undoes the wicked." So you can see those very different ideals, but very similar concepts at the same time.
Yeah.
Where his own wrath, does the weak versus the wicked. Wicked can be considered as anything. Wicked can be, just like, oh, you think of your classic necromancers or evildoers, while the weak could be considered as anything. It doesn't matter whether that person is considered as a prince, as long as they're corruption, and the other one, his words speak no falsehoods versus his words speak only truths. So the Black Knight does not have to necessarily tell you the truth. He just doesn't have to disclose anything that is wrong. So if you or a character came up and asked me what happened to my ear, I can just say it got cut off. I don't have to explain how it got cut off. I could not cover myself up with that. And they also don't have to... A Black Knight doesn't necessarily have to follow the laws of the land.
Yeah.
They have to follow the laws of their lord and what their lord tells them.
Yeah.
So if my lord just told me, hey, while you're with this adventuring town, follow their laws, I would. Otherwise, if he just says, don't do it and don't get caught, I would. Is basically what I would have to do.
Yeah.
And they are kind of that switch between things. People usually see them as these like kind of these big the best way to relate what a Black Knight is for those who don't know and who don't play. Black Knights are like the Oath of Conquest paladin. Yeah, they are. They can be because you are right there, Boji, because a Black Knight doesn't have they aren't really restricted by morals. Because a White Knight will, the best example right now to give, love the player, but Knight Tibregus, who is a White Knight, we were in a situation where we were dealing with these goblins who were very powerful necromancers, killing innocents, but they were fully sentient. We had decided that they were sentient, and they were talking to us, they were casting these known illegal rituals, and the White Knight, instead of us just letting we could have ended that whole little side campaign much quicker, because at the time we could have just dropped it on them at that moment. But because the White Knight decided to go and tell the goblins, because he believed since they were sentient, they deserved the chance to defend themselves. And again, more people were killed when we went back because we didn't kill them at that moment. And they would rather sacrifice themselves and help, willing to make deals with these evil powers to defend the rest of the group. When, I get too many White Knights that I know have sacrificed themselves to demons to help save the rest of the party, when we could have just easily taken that demon on and been just fine. So Black Knights in that sense they do not care. They are not a moral speed bump, so to say. Because I guess the White Knight still does good and they still uphold the law, but they are very hoity-toity, kind of that lawful good, or kind of, as I like to say, lawful dumb sometimes.
Yeah. White Knights do what's right, not necessarily what's popular.
Yeah, they kill non-goblin necromancers on the site, so I don't see... Yeah, that was a very, very strange situation when we were dealing with that. He thought since they were goblins, they're like, oh, they deserve a chance because they're goblins. No. But I mean, we eventually did kill them anyways, and we made sure that the White Knights didn't know, because we knew they would try to defend the goblins because, oh, they're weak and they deserve a mercy, rather than, hey, no, they've been killing people and they just need to die. So that's kind of my take on it, and why my character really likes it, and why I went for it, because it would be kind of fun just to play it for that one time, kind of that lawful good character, but I've always enjoyed, it's like, I'd rather still do the good thing whether or not people like me for it.
Now, speaking of killing goblins on site, I know with kobolds there's a decree from the king that says kill them on site. Isn't there the same decree for goblins, or am I wrong?
Anything that is deemed as a monster and not a cyclic creature, they are supposed to be killed on sight. So when he was right, we should have killed them at that moment.
So technically, he circumvented the law by giving them a warning.
He was saying, well, also in that instance as well, his excuse was, he was saying, since it was in disputed territories, that he was allowed to, because he was saying, oh, we don't know if we're exactly in Falcon Crest territory or if we're in Acheron territories, so we don't know whether I should listen to the Falcon Crest laws, which I'm sworn to, or go by Acheron.
Acheronian laws. Okay.
So that's why he did what he did, because it was in kind of disputed territory. But he also put the rest of the town in danger, which is what the Black Knight wouldn't have done that. He will defend his group and his honor, and will do what he needs to defend the rest of his group. So there's been instances where, yeah, I've gotten yelled at for using necromancy, but I have saved saved the people that I'm sworn to by not letting them die, by using the minor magics that he does, like making the enemies run away from him, or making sure that the enemy can't move.
Yeah.
That's kind of why he knows that, yeah, he will get flacked on this path, but he knows that he is still doing justice in his own eyes.
Okay.
Any questions?
No, I figure we should probably leave the moral debates aside.
Yeah, moral debates.
Yeah,
that's
we've
not
gone too
for
much
us.
into that already. So let's
but
talk
that's just
about,
kind of the best way to explain White and Black Knights, is kind of their moral alignments.
Yeah. So Boji says the idea of befriending goblins, feral, and kobolds as a whole is just weird to Boji.
Yeah, I never understand when the younger adventurers try to make friends and whatnot by I can see kind of confusing them in that moment so we can kill them easier, but otherwise I don't understand why some things do. And I know there's very minor exceptions to that rule, like Crystal, a Crystal made kobold, and other things who are actually genuinely help. But yeah, as a whole, they should just be killed.
Yeah. All right, so let's go into the skills.
Some skills.
The levels,
Black
yeah.
Knights.
Do you have them on your page, or do you need to pull it up?
If you want to pull them up,
Okay.
just so I can make sure I get that accurately. I still know for the most part, what's going on.
So it'll be in the Mythic Realms, and then it'll be under the
Rules, Book of Heroes.
Book of Heroes.
So go to that Rules tab on the far left. I know, I'm not sure if you lovelies can see this, but this is just for us.
They won't be able to.
The offsites. Then you click on that Book of Heroes, that second tab, and then scroll down to Black Knight.
To Black Knight, which is page.
There we are. Boom. So yes.
So let us know if anyone says anything, because we can't. Or are you gonna shrink it?
Yeah, just kind of slide that over. We don't need to see us. We're not that important.
Yep.
So yes.
So we're gonna go into some skills with names and abilities that we've gone over last season. So if you do have any questions, just go ahead and stop us. But for the most part, we're not gonna delve too deep into these names because we've kind of gone over what these do before. So go ahead, level 1. What is your first ability at level 1 as a Black Knight?
So at level 1 Black Knight, the first one that you can pick up, you don't have to. You can pick them up in any order, but the first one that is on the list is you can cast your Cause Fears, Scatter, and Force Obliterate you through your weapon. Basically, the roleplay version on that, I draw upon things inside of myself, and I can use those through my weapons to cause fear. Like, let's say I'd be doing like a shout or something through at my enemy, or I just channel these magics into the blade of whatever I'm using, and then I can just cast that through those weapons. So it's channeling magics. There's other classes that can channel magics, but theirs is mostly causing their enemies to run from them, causing the weaks to run. So that's what that first kind of one is because you don't have Scatter or Force Obliterate you till later on at 3rd level, which we'll cover as well. So right now he's just using I use my blades to cause the enemy to run and make it easier for me to. I know, I am illegal, Boji. Oh no. It's not like I've already had my slap on the wrist before.
Oh yeah, he's had a slap on the wrist quite a few times.
So he does that mostly in the instances where, like, if I know that the creature that I'm fighting doesn't have any defenses against it, but it's still a little powerful, like for some of and I'm with other kind of weaker creatures, I can make it afraid of me, and then I can stand between the creature and my party members, so that way they can't. It makes it easier for them, if it's a caster or an archer, to deal with it while I just kind of keep that creature at bay.
Now that one is It is important to note that that is through melee weapons only.
Yes, I cannot use my arrows to shoot at them from a distance. I do have to use my a sword or a dagger, or some sort of. I have to physically swing it at them. The next one is I gain the immunity effects to fear and terror. So let's say something tried to hit me with that fear. I still do have to run from the thing because fear and terror, I have to run from the target, but I am not afraid of that target. It's like my own conviction of, okay, I have to be able to stand my ground against my enemies, so I can't run and be afraid of my thing. And because if I'm afraid of my enemy, I'm running, and that's against the tenets of the Black Knight, or of the Code of the Nightwalker. The next one is kind of add the force keyword whenever you expend a feat of strength to use Death Blow. So that one kind of coincides because when you think of like Black Knights and these Oath of Conquest Paladins, which is the closest thing to relate to a Black Knight, there are these big things that just will decimate and cleave whatever thing is in their way as quickly as they can. And having that force keyword is really useful on a lot of things that are fortified, because some things have this thing where they can resist the death blow, and if they don't want to use more defenses or rituals that are cast upon them to not die, it makes it much quicker for that creature to just die. So you can paralyze the creature or make it so they are resistant to, death blow, and then I can just kill it much quicker than other things. The next one is it's gain one of the following. It's either you can use force spells when you're wearing heavy armor. So if I was wearing something like what Jovi is wearing, I wouldn't be able to use my force skills because normally you're not supposed to do that. But if I was going for that more fighter style of Black Knight, then I could take that. The next one is the disease effect is removed automatically at the end of a short rest. Disease is a very nasty effect if you don't cure it, because the major part of it is your health. Your health is cut in half and it stacks, and it doesn't get removed until you get it purified, which sometimes we don't have people in the group who have purify potions or ways to remove a disease, and it's using other valuable resources to get rid of that. So it makes it easier for the healers and other members in the town to not have to waste that on me. It's basically your own inner conviction pushing out this poison.
Nice.
And then the last one, when the Wraithblade spell is on a weapon you are wielding, I get to call Empowered, and its duration is increased to 5 minutes. Wraithblade allows the wielder to swing for pass damage, which bypasses armor ceilings. Armor ceilings reduces the amount that you can take hit. So if I'm going up, and it's mostly for humanoid things that aren't undead, because most of them have immunity to resist pass damage anyways. But for like humanoid things, like let's say for some reason Jovi here decided to go evil, and he was having his armor ceilings, I could effectively make it easier for me to do more damage to him without having to just paralyze him or something else.
Now, real quick, earlier what we were reading was the Path of the Nightwalker and Path of the Lightwalker.
Yes.
Interestingly enough, if you look at some of these skills, like the gain the immunity to roleplay effects of fear and terror, if he violates the code of the Nightwalker, he loses that ability. So it's not just a piece of paper that means nothing. It
helps me following a lot of my skills. I get from my own conviction of following that path. And actually, it's not very good for a character who follows the Path of the Nightwalker or the Path of the Lightwalker, because in both instances, if you violate that, it can take you months to get back into that standing to be able to cast those abilities again.
Yeah, so it's more than just empty words that you don't have to follow. They actually have had rules that back up the roleplay aspect, which is actually, I think, kind of a cool effect.
So it is, and plot makes sure that they follow that. So if I ever did, it would take me like a whole plot line just to get my abilities back.
Get yourself back in good standing, so.
Which is not good, so he does his best to follow everything.
Yeah.
Alright, if we can scroll down so we can see level 2. Because all hero classes are divided into three different levels.
3 levels.
So you can multi-class into 2 different hero classes, but you can either do 3. You have to do 3 in one of them. So you can go 3 in one and 2 in the other. So the next one is an Oath of Enmity. Basically,
the top one. Oh no, you're right.
It is Oath of Enmity. I basically make this pledge to an enemy. My love is like a truck berserker.
It's his theme song that he sings when we're out fighting. He sings it sometimes.
That's beautiful. I don't know what Dorgo's would be right now. So I swear this oath to a creature that I'm fighting to basically destroy them, and it gives me more damage. I can dodge any of their attacks by that foe. And it has to be justified from tenets of the Path of the Nightwalker. And I can't end it early either until that thing is killed either. So I have to kill my enemy before I can leave that stance. But it's also a good stance to be in either as well. It is basically when you kind of rile yourself up to kill your enemy is what is happening in that instance. He's kind of getting pumped up. He's wanting, and it helps him kill his enemy faster with his convictions by stating, you are violating this law, this part of the code, what I follow, so that is why I am killing you. And some of the other skills that happen, and the other one will jump to down, it's at the bottom of the list, but it also goes with this, I have to justify why I'm doing it. It's just not just raw power. It's justifiable why he's doing it. Here's why he's going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is called a Circle of Judgment. Now, White Knights also there's a couple different people who have these circles. White Knights have a very similar one where they can force you while you're in the circle to tell the truth, which for them, that's their thing. They want to know why, they want to get the truth out of you because people lie. It happens. This one is kind of a judgment. Basically, when I get a power myself, when I kill a sentient creature, and that's the key word, is sentient. They have to know their actions. I can't just put random ferals and things who don't understand what's going on into this circle and kill them. They have to be knowledgeable. They have to understand me. They have to be able to understand why I am doing this to them. And then again, I make this, reasons again be, let's say it was a violation of the law. So if I know that they are breaking the law, like the earlier example with the those goblin necromancers, I could have killed them and put them in my circle because I said, hey, necromancy is against the law in both of these kingdoms. You had no legal ways to do this, therefore I can kill you. It's a judge, jury, executioner kind of moment. And then it kind of bolsters himself, makes him a little bit more healthy. But it's not necromantic. Like other similar things where it makes the other person healthier by killing them, it is more of his own inner knowledge that he has done the right thing by upholding the law. So those I have to justify. Doesn't matter what. The next one is I gain the ability to apply my damage singing to drain, pass, siphon, and cleanse. So earlier when I had that Wraith Blade in that first level, if I was against something else that had that, and I do a thing called the Hunkered Down, which makes me a little bit tougher to hit, I can apply that so it makes it harder for my enemies to kill me. Now granted, there's things that still swing for crazy damage, but for normal things, it makes it very nice.
That might be a reason to go Black Knight right there. Then I don't have to waste a armor slot on that.
Slots, having other things to do that is just innate. It's just there, which is nice because it's kind of, again, more of a conviction of I have to stand and defend myself and cull these enemies of mine that deserve my vengeance and my anger. And then last one in the level 2 is I gained the ability to cast an altered version of the Wraith Blade spell. And it's, again, similar very thing. So I just do this magic on there, and I get that ability to swing for pass, which is very similar to the other level, where I can potentially increase that limit. It just allows you to quickly, more easily kill your enemies. Those who have armor, natural armor that makes it, they reduce your attacks. So you can swing harder and kill them quicker. That's kind of all the level 2 stuff. Let's go down to level 3.
Although I still don't think I'd ever go Black Knight just because of all the
necromancy. Well, it's not full. It's enough that it's to where you have what you need to just kill your enemies quicker. The fear to make them run away from you. It's more, they've got it's not actually super heavy. There's only really 3 necromantic things in that whole, in all of the Black Knight. It's the Obliterates, the Obliterates, the Fear, and the
Wraithblade.
And the Wraithblade. Those are the only 3 necromantic things that now granted, I've got other things that help me with that, like I can make my enemy immobilized. Mm-hmm. I do that just because that's easier for me to, he would do that because it's quicker for him to kill his enemy in that situation. So the first one is he gains an additional lore and martial traditions, politics and etiquette, or heraldry and regimes, which for a knight, they need to know the law of the lands. They need to know what army this creature would have been from his studies, how to act if he was in court, different regimes, knowing this is a sigil from this court. Makes him a little bit more knowledgeable because a knight should be both a master of both war and knowledge. Mm-hmm. The next one is once a battle, he can expend a feat of strength to use the Drain Life spell through their things, which Drain Life allows reduces their death count from 5 minutes to 1 minute. So it reduces it by a total of 4 minutes, which is for trying to kill a powerful enemy and making sure that they just straight out die is very, very handy. Because so there have been things where they can rise up as soon as they die, get done with their bleed count. So being able to get them just straight out dead is much easier than letting them bleed. The next one is an Oath of Vengeance. And again, another class one where if I violate this, I cannot do that ability at all. That I still can do the other abilities, but anyone that is noted that I can't, I have to follow the path. If I lose that, I can't do those class-specific ones. So this one, I swear an oath to another creature, pledging to seek vengeance on their behalf, making me a little bit more healthier during that time until I do that vengeance. So it makes it easier for him to, and it's a little bit of also a role-play thing as well, to where I can pledge to a creature, like let's say we happen to be on an event where we are searching out someone who has done you wrong. I can make that pledge to you, like, hey, I will make sure that this thing dies before we leave tonight. And I would make it a little bit healthier for him to be for the rest of the night.
Nice.
And then the last one, kind of the big shebang, if we can just scroll a little bit down, because it's got a lot of text. I get to use spend a use of my force skill to either do the necromantic force obliterate you, force slay, or a thing called the avenging shadow. Force obliterate is just kind of like a force slay where I just outright kill the thing no matter what. Mm-hmm. Whether I want to, the force slay would be the more common one because it's not necromantic, and if anyone was around, they'd just see me. The roleplay version would basically I just cut that thing in half. The other thing, the obliterate, would be kind of a magical strike, and they turn to goo. Scatter is 2 forces of. It's a force ability for cause fear. And as we remember from earlier, I can swing them through my blade. So instead of just the normal one where they can use a dodge on the cause fear, they have to use a higher thing that can sidesteps that have to be for a force ability, which is much harder for things to defend against. Mm-hmm. So it makes it easier for them to run away from me. And then last one is kind of this, it's called the Avenging Shadow, where I kind of summon these necromantic powers to make it easier. Again, all of these abilities are for killing these things, or killing my enemy much easier. He gains a heroism, so I'm not affected by fears or terrors anymore, so I don't have to run, which is always nice. Shadow form, which I can regenerate and get healed by drains. So if I've got a mystic caster who also does necromancy, he can also just heal me much quicker in that battle. I can regenerate, so I can heal myself if I don't have a necromancer, and I can also do it in bleed, so it doesn't drop, because most of these stances drop or stop as soon as you bleed, get into your bleed count. But that one doesn't, so I can still do that, which is nice. Death blow at will. That one isn't forced though, because I'm not using feats of strength. But I can still do those death blows, so if I get them immobilized or paralyzed, or anything that allows them to be affected by the death blow skill, I can just drop them as soon as I can. Pass, we already talked about that earlier, makes it easier to go through their armor. And then terror, which is anything that can see or hear the creature. It's like a fear, but it's a mass area of effect fear. So instead of the fear, which is a single target, it is everyone in that range that can see or hear me. So it makes it, again, easier for my enemies, but I have to be careful that my party isn't within ear or eyesight. Because if they see or hear me, then they're afraid of me as too.
I think it's see and hear you. I think they have to do both.
One or the other. They have to either see or hear you. Okay. So if they can see you and they hear it, then it works. Or if they see you, or if they just hear you, because you can't just hide behind a wall. You have to be out of earshot to not be affected. Mm-hmm. So, and that is kind of all the abilities for a Black Knight. So it's all gathered on this idea of empowering himself through his convictions to kill his enemies quicker.
Yeah.
Although for me, it is a little weird because my character is a rogue, so I've had to dip over into fighter level stuff because this Black Knight is definitely meant to be for a fighter class. But I make it work, so...
Yeah. Alright, now we need to go to White Knight.
Yeah, we'll go over to White Knight to get the other side of things, so you can kind of see the differences. So White Knights is the shield which holds darkness at bay. They are paragons of honor, courage, and loyalty, acting as the tip of the spear in the war against the Abyss. White Knights fight evil wherever it is found, calling upon an immense reserve of internal fortitude and strength to imbue themselves with dauntless radiance, sundering the foes of virtue. They are champions of the downtrodden and are sworn to follow a noble code which drives them towards honesty, mercy, and selflessness. White Knights of legend are counted amongst the greatest heroes of historic lore, and White Knights of the current age are trusted implicitly throughout Aurelia. So White Knights are more trusted in the public eyes because they fight for the downtrodden, they fight for the underdogs, where my character wouldn't necessarily, he'll still help the weak, but he won't help them out.
Yeah.
They are easier to kind of stand against, the kind of like the opposite for a Black Knight. So a lot of their things, or just a necromancer in general. So their first one, they also have to follow the path of the Lightwalker. So they still have to listen to their own codes as well. And another note is they can't take White Knight if they're already a Black Knight. So I cannot multi-class into White Knight because it would be violating two different tenets at the same time.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's interesting too is like a Black Knight doesn't really have like a focused enemy. You're just kind of like you pick your enemy and then they go down. White Knights specifically are focused more towards demons.
Yeah, they are more demonic focused.
Yeah, they're a lot more just focused like you said. They're a lot more streamlined towards killing demons, whereas Black Knights are streamlined towards killing whatever they deem to be their enemy.
Yeah. So that's kind of the difference, is they don't have any set targets for Black Knights.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, a White Knight is considered kind of the shield of justice, where they would rather protect and kind of wait, rather than the Black Knight, who is kind of the sword of vengeance. They will actively seek out and destroy. So the first level, or the first thing that you can pick up in White Knight is you gain the ability, when affected by an Obliterate you, to call Reduce and fall into your bleed rather than your death count. Because Obliterate and Slays are very similar to where it just drops you to your death count, which is much harder for you to get brought back up. So as long as you can get healed in your bleed count, then you're fine. So that's kind of nicer for a White Knight. They also gain the immunity to the fear and terror mechanics. They still have to do the running part, but they still they still can stand in front of their enemy. They get one called they get a use of the stasis ability. Stasis allows them to touch a creature that is in their death count and basically pauses it. So they are using kind of like their own, instead of killing the thing, they use their own internal conviction to keep the creatures alive. So like if they've got an enemy that they want to bring back up, but he was deathblowed, they can just pause that so they can question him. They get one of the following. They can also get the ability to cast force spells through their heavy armor. They get to remove the disease effect at the end of a short rest. The only difference for them in this ability that's different from Black Knight is when they use the stasis ability, they can use it on multiple targets. So as long as a White Knight is making physical contact, he can stop multiple people from dying. So as long as he lays down and people, like, essentially you could dogpile onto the White Knight, just put bodies on him as he's laying down, and they would all be stasised.
See, in stasis, we kind of needed this week because there was a lot of people who were like down at front, and we couldn't get a healer to them, but we could have at least stasis them and kept them. Like, no, I don't think anyone actually died this week, but it was...
No one died. They got close.
Yeah, it was a drag down, like, all-night fight, man. It was crazy this week for sure.
So so that's theirs, and then we'll scroll down to level 2. So the first thing that you can pick up is the Lay on Hands ability, which allows you to spend 30 seconds. You basically are like channeling your holy energies into this creature, and they use it to bring someone back from the dead. So that's a very useful skill, but they can only do it once a day. But still, having that extra resource is always useful, because sometimes you need to have that. You need to have that extra resources.
Can they buy that skill multiple times?
I don't think they can. So it's just a one-time purchase, but they can still buy the Forcerer's Sword, Lay on Hands, Spear through the skill tree.
That's still cheaper though than going through the skill tree.
Yeah, that's just the free one-time use that you have automatically.
That's super handy.
Their next one that they get in level 2 is they may use the cleanse damage whenever they use when they expend a feat of strength to use a death blow. So they both classes have a death blow ability with a feat of strength, but for them that's also very nice for when trying to kill undead. So that's kind of an undead and abyssal skill for them. So they use that because some things are immune to certain types of death blows, but they're also more they are more susceptible to others. So cleanse is very nice for undeads and abyssals, and they can do that at any time as long as they have a feat of strength. Their next one is the Oath of Valor. The Oath of Valor is very similar to the Oath of Enmity, but for them, they say they get swear an oath to a foe, pledging either to oppose them or to grant them mercy if they yield, and they get a +3 health and a use of a force defend, and 1 bonus use of a negate ethereal, which may be swung through their weapon.
That's huge.
So that's also kind of how we were talking, how White Knights are geared a little bit more towards abyssal things, because a lot of things from the Abyss can be from, are considered ethereal, where you have to have certain true visions to see them, and it makes it harder to kill them if you can't see them. So that makes it easier, as if you know that they are in that area, you can force them out of that etherealness where they're essentially invisible. Different from the actual skill, invisible. Plus, force defend is nice because, so for the example to kind of say how a force defend works, you can use defense on any non-force skills. So if I just was hitting him for like a poison, he could have been defended by that. If I was using my force death blow skill, you would have to have a force level defend to stop it. Their next one is they get a Circle of Truth, like I was talking about earlier. The Circle of Truth allows in White Knight to unerringly detect falsehoods spoken by the targeted creature. This is empowered by their conviction and dedication to the law, and thus a Circle of Truth can only be performed in the presence of a judicial authority. So that is different from the Black Knight version of justice, where instead of it being from the Black Knight's own internal version of the law, it has to be from an actual authority of the law to do so. And they can only ask they can ask a single yes or no question pertaining to the violation of the law which the present judicial authority presides. If the targeted creature answers the question asked, the knight will sense if they were telling the lie or telling the truth. And then they have to form out of game whether it was false or true, and then they can just basically do that. It just allows them to question something. So like, let's say I was going crazy and they thought that I was being a crazy necromancer. They could ask me, were you casting necromancy recently? And then I would have to say yes or no.
I mean, you could say no, but they would
know that I'm lying, and then they would just
know.
Further question me, and then the judicial person would be able to know if I was lying or not.
Yep.
So they're level 3. Their first one that they can pick up is, again, the exact same thing as what the Black Knight is. They gain additional lore in martial traditions, politics and etiquette, or heraldry and regimes. Their next one is the Oath of Protection. Oath of Protection is, again, another class ability for them. So if they violate their path of the Lightwalker, they lose the ability to cast this spell. Then they swear an oath to another creature, pledging to strive and to defend them, and gain the ability to use one use of your parry for a bonus defense skill on that character. They also, if they use the Lay on Hands spirit, lay on hands on that person that they've made this pledge to, they gain a bonus heroism immediately afterwards. So it allows that person that they're bringing back up to be able to face their danger in that instance.
Oh, that's cool. They recently changed the White Knight too, didn't they?
White Knights and Black Knights both were completely unrelated, but I made a marinated ramen egg for the first time.
Oh, nice.
That does sound tasty.
They turned out good. I'll have to try one then. So I know you were talking about that last time we went to ramen, that you wanted to try out the eggs, so and try making them on your own. But that sounds cool.
That actually does. I want ramen. So their next one after that duration, after that oath that they have, is called the Purify spell. That allows them to do a single foot plant of Purify for 5 minutes, which is really nice if you're in an instance where there's something throwing out these disease poisons. Mm-hmm. That way it doesn't waste any resources from other players. Then their last one is the Force Grant Heroism, Lay on Hands, restore your Lay on Hands, Cleansing Smite, or Spirit of Light. So their first one, Force Grant Heroism, is very similar, where it allows them to be fully immune. They don't have to run from terror or fears, but they have to use it on someone else. They cannot use it on their own. So that's kind of like what a White Knight is. They willingly are giving themselves up to help their party members. Then they get another use of Lay on Hands. We've already talked about that. Then they get the Cleansing Smite. You may use your weapon to swing 2 consecutive swings of Force Cleanse 40. The second swing must occur within 3 seconds. Does not have the ability to be called unlike Force Slay. If the swings misses or physically blocked, that skill is expended. The damage is not increased by anything else that affects that attack. So it's just that flat damage, really good for any abyssal and undead creatures that are a little harder to hit. And if they've especially got a good armor ceiling, super nice to get past that. And then their last one, the opposite of the Avenging Shadow, is the Spirit of Light. Yeah. They're basically kind of cloaked in this heavenly light of cleansing power, but then they can also end theirs early. That's kind of the difference. For them, they can use cleanse damage type with all their weapons. Any elemental spell casting, they can convert that over to cleanse damage. When they use cleanse damage, they get a +3.
Wow.
They gain the ability to do heal you, cleanse you, grant well-being, and force restore your spirit through their weapons. So, and theirs is also different. Theirs does not meet the specific requirements for it. It has to be a melee weapon. So as long as they have a ranged weapon, they can do that.
Wow.
So that's also super handy, because if you're in a bit of a distance where you can't reach them to touch them with your sword or your hand, and you happen to have a thrown weapon or an arrow, you can do that, which is very nice. Once through that stance, they get a use of a negate ethereal, so they can again bring more things that are hidden by this etherealness. That allows them to pop out of that. When they're affected by betrayals at all times, They are basically affected by daze, which is really nice, especially if it's a very high-leveled White Knight who does a lot of damage, because daze forces you to not take any offensive combat. So they can't swing when they're dazed, which and a betrayal only lasts 10 seconds. So it kind of counters out that betrayal. Gain the ability Enslave. This one is a little more situational because Enslave, when they're affected by Slave, they can call Reduced, and they're effectively knocked out. Knocked out is kind of bad because if you don't have your friends nearby and you knock yourself out, that thing can just kill you.
Yeah.
But Enslave is also good because then you aren't forced to do what that thing is enslaving you to do. Which in some instances it can be very, very scary, like go off into the field and kill yourself, kill your friends, find this information, and when this maximum amount of time has passed, do this thing. So it's very useful. Plus enslaves can also force you to talk. So it's kind of a situational thing if you're more within your group and your group sees you. Gain immunity to disease, fear, and terror effects, you must call resist. So instead of usually just being where they have to run, they just don't have to, and they don't have to be hit with a heroism. Or if something's throwing disease, they don't have to walk for 10 seconds and their health isn't cut in half. So those are kind of the two different knights and all of their skills. Kind of the differences. You can kind of see they still are, in the sense they kind of are, again, very similar to their codes where they are trying to protect their party. One is more for selflessness, where he would rather throw himself on the line rather than the Black Knight who is, I will still defend you, but I'm going to just do it on my own.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the classes for you and their abilities, so you can kind of understand how they act and how they work. So there's that. Anything else that you can think of for kind of describing the classes?
No, I think we did a good job kind of comparing the contrast earlier with how certain situations would have been handled. I do kind of like some of the new White Knight abilities now that it's been rewritten, and I wasn't going to go White Knight for my secondary class, but
the rewrite was definitely nice. It made it a little bit more to their class. Black Knight would have been a very powerful option for Bodhi's. Oh god, that would have been terrifying. With how healthy Bodhi is with your strength and everything. And hunker down, because you wouldn't get as much. I mean, the shield would be nice in the hunker down, but I'm sure he's already got enough armor class that a hunker down is also still pretty good for Bodhi. Yeah,
it is. It's nice, but yeah, that would be scary, especially if you like rage and you Oath of Enmity or something, and then
it's two different stances because an Oath of Enmity is its own stance.
It is a stance. You couldn't.
So you can go into a rage and go into an Oath of Enmity. So they are different, but you would with the amount of because I think rage also gives you some feats of strength. I'm not sure. You would get that extra force damages that you would get out of that. So
you're gonna ask your question.
There's a question.
Yes, I feel a very important question coming.
Ooh.
Yeah, Black Knight would have been kind of interesting to see Boji go, except Boji's kind of against necromancy.
Yeah, Boji would. So. I don't think with Boji's morals. It would. Yeah, Black Knight is very militaristic, kind almost. And Boji doesn't seem like he'd be the military. Well, I guess he is the general, so there is
Boji's
that sense.
Way military now,
but not as strict as like in Ebron. My favorite LARP memory. My favorite one that we've had was that we were on a weekender. It was like 12 o'clock at night. We were doing this. We were having kind of this little plot line where we were dealing with one of the older players that used to be in the town felt that we betrayed her, and she started bringing back a lot of the other people's people in town, their loved ones, making them these very, very powerful undead. And she comes in. It's like like 1 a.m, and I had heard that there were these Candleborn, as we were calling them, in town. So I was running to go and defend, like tell other players, hey, don't go out, lock your doors. These things are in town. And I see one of them being played by Forley's character. I'm not sure if you guys have met Forley or not. So it was another player, and I thought that it was being, because everyone can play multiple characters. So I thought he was playing this one that we know, that's friendly. He's part of the town, and then he tries to the thing tries to knock me out, and then I'm like, oh no, this isn't my friend. So I had to haul ass to a safe building, and then we just had this crazy half-hour fight where we were running around in the dark. We were going uphill. It was just a very crazy time. So that's one. My other one that I'd have to say that was very silly was we were at, again, another weekend. Weekenders are the funniest times.
Yeah. There's just so many opportunities for stuff to happen.
And just being silly and kind of dumb. So for that one, we were at a weekender, and we were just eating dinner. It was kind of late. No one really was paying attention. We were kind of all sleepy. And one of the NPCs comes in, and he had been collecting trash and garbage from like the kitchen all day to make this really gross smelling bowl. And he just is stirring. He starts making this really silly. That was a crazy night. I'm sure you did not enjoy hearing us running around screaming. It was that night with the Candleborns was. But the other one, so the NPC is mixing his bowl of mush and trash, and he makes this ritual circle, and we weren't paying attention to him, and he just stands outside the tavern and just screams, "I call upon ritual to summon great or dire flies. I am the Lord of the Flies, fear me!" And he just runs off, cackling into the night, and we just had to fight these giant flies. They didn't do much damage, but it was just one of those silly moments that afterwards we're all just
Lord of the Flies
laughing our asses off because it was just so ridiculous. And we're just like I don't know if you were there for one of the for this other NPC. Another really funny moment was we had these two ritual casters come in, and we were making this ritual chocolate. It was actually funny because the brand on the chocolate wrapper was actually called Ritual Chocolate. And great. We had to go gather the ingredients to make this chocolate. So we had to go get the milk from a kobold, or the special droppings from briar beasts, which are these weird viney things, and pixie dust, which was the sugar. So we had the chocolate, the milk, and the sugar to make this magical chocolate, and we had to go and the rituals were like, okay, now you've got to stand like this, and you hold out your hand like that, just like that, and if you move, you will ruin the whole thing. And it's just the silly moments are what I like, and that's some of my favorite memories that I've had from LARP. Right. So I think that answers that. Yes, kobold milk. Crow, if Crow is still watching, he didn't believe that apparently some rare subspecies of kobolds have teats. And we had to. It was that was the weirdest part of the whole experience.
And I had just woken up, and I wanted to go so badly, but I was like, I just woke up. I'm not in my armor. I haven't even eaten. I'm like, I'm not gonna go on this. I'm gonna miss out.
It wasn't a no comp. It was thankfully no comp, like light combat with the briar beasts. But the NPC was just sitting there all dressed like an old lady kobold, and you just had this little water balloon full of milk, and we just had to milk it out of it. So I had to puncture a tiny little hole out of it and sit there and put it into this cup.
That's crazy.
We're all just laughing.
Yeah.
I don't know how the NPC was keeping a straight face the entire time, because the rest of us who were on that adventure were just losing their shit.
I remember Banner came into the tavern and we told him about it, and he's like, I'm off. He was like, where are they? I must see this.
He had to see the kobold titty. It was unfortunately, we killed them all because we were like, no, these things should not be alive.
No, yeah, they're kobolds, so you milked it and then killed it.
I mean, that's how I would do if I saw something that shouldn't be melt.
So, all right. Does anybody have any further questions for us?
I'm not sure who's watching. I know there's that one friend that likes the props, but I don't know if they're in the viewers or not. I see we've got 5 friends. I don't know who's watching.
Trying to think of anything else we can go over as well, but I know you got to get going fairly soon anyway. So
we're
this
getting
is
actually pretty good.
This is a pretty good.
What is my name? Which name?
Your character name, I'm assuming. So
we'll see. What is my name? What is my quest? And I'm sure it's going to be what's my favorite color or what's the capital of Assyria.
At least somewhere. Jack Trace.
What is my favorite color?
Yeah.
Name is Dewargo. Become the best Black Knight, and my color, as you can see, is red. My favorite colors are red.
Nice.
It also doesn't help that that's also my country's colors too.
Yeah.
Reds and blacks. That's how you can tell. As you see this red color, you're like, oh, hey, that's an Ebrin.
I guess if you can't tell, Falcon Crest colors are gold and blue. So, and Falcon Crest citizens have to wear these armbands, these yellow armbands, which is supposed to be
shows their fierce loyalty to their nobility.
So, I didn't really tell people that we didn't go over the country colors, but I don't know if they all have them. But
some of them do, and they've got their flags have kind of their colors.
Yeah.
So Falcon Crest's main colors can alternate between blue, silver, or gold. And then Ibris is the other kind of main country, and theirs are black, red, and gold on their flag.
So, yeah, and the dark side, they're all dressed in black and red. So.
Yep, because we still like the pride of our country. We just don't really think that it's a very good political spot at the moment.
Yeah.
Because of all the political coup from last year, and we're still trying to clean that up.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to go ahead and probably call it there. There's a few things we've got to go over first. The first thing we want to talk about is the Ascendance Gaming Center that lets us film here. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't even be... Oh, that's... There we go.
I mean, I had that plug. I need that plug. You ought to be in here.
So Ascendance Gaming Center, located in South Salt Lake. The address, the exact address is right there on that link. These guys... I don't give them enough credit. They're open until 4 a.m. the night before, and they come in at 11 a.m. so that we can do this show. So, really, we owe them a whole lot. This show would not be possible without them. So, the fact that they do that, I get more sleep than them most nights. So, and I appreciate them coming in. But they are a LAN center. They've got VR. They've got a few Ultra systems. So, just come on in, hang out, bring some friends, play some games together. Fortnite or League of Legends is a big popular one that people come here to play together. So very popular, actually. I've noticed. We get a lot of League. Yeah, we get a lot of.
Because it's a new season to start it.
Yeah, the season 10's coming up.
So, but then the next one that you can see there is that on Wednesday we will have this available on podcast format on Anchor, the LARP Lounge, as well as on YouTube.
When your producer remembers.
Well, that's all right. If we get a chance. So there's the channel link, so you can watch any of those videos after the fact. They're also available on Twitch for a little while. We've been archiving them all, so they're all available on Twitch as well too. So
go learn.
Go learn some stuff. Go see some of this from last season, especially the Jarsthae episode. That was a whole lot of fun. Still trying to. I think I know what I want to do for this season finale. I just have to get all of the members to say yes. So that's going to be kind of the difficulty there, but it won't be as large as the Jarsthaes, but it'll be pretty big. But last thing I guess I want to talk about is Mythic Realms. This is the LARP that we're talking about currently. So go check them out. Every Wednesday we play.
Join.
Yeah, that's what I'm actually thinking of doing for the season finale is the Darkstar.
Oh, Lord. That would be entertaining. Because we've got, let's see. I think we've got like 10 or 8 people that are active.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that big, so it will be just as big as the Jarsthaes.
It's about as large as the Jarsthaes because we've got, let's see, Ward, Shania, Parks, Grant, Mike, me, their friends. There's two.
Oh yeah, there are 2 new friends,
There are 2 new
which
friends.
we're gonna have.
I think on the next.
I think next week we're having 2 fairly new players to Mythic Realms showing up. Let me see real quick.
So there's them, and then if you're also including other players, then you've got Adam, but he hasn't been here for a while.
No, yeah, next week is actually with Commander Gray. I don't know what we're going to talk about yet, but that's what we're doing next week, Commander Gray. And then the following week will be with the 2 new members of the Darkstar, and remember 2 new players for Mythic Realms. They've been LARPing for a while, but they're new to Mythic Realms.
New to this
so
system.
We'll be talking about like their impressions of Mythic Realms and just different things like that. So we'll figure it out. But
Rosie hasn't much time. I feel like he'd get along with them. He'd get along with the new guys. This especially the one that just is the new pack mule that has a shovel, 5 swords, a pickaxe, all these things just on his back.
Oh, when he says shovel, he literally has a
foam shovel that he can use to hit
It's
people.
so funny. Like, I saw it on this Wednesday, and I was like, is that a flippin' shovel? So, yeah, he literally carries around a shovel, which was quite hilarious. So,
Like the brick. Who has the brick? The old player emissary carries
we still carry the brick. I don't remember which player has the brick.
It's the old player emissary that come and talk. The one that was there before.
Grant or Travis.
It was Grant.
Grant, yeah.
Grant's the old one. Travis is one of the new ones, yeah.
But
So.
we still have a brick.
Crow. So,
my personal favorite is one of Lord Bitterbeer. His player has a foam bottle that he can throw at people, and it's funny.
And then the last thing is I wanted to talk about what's coming up this Thursday for my stream. I'm going to be streaming RimWorld with a Twitch extension that lets you like buy things and actually have like characters in game that are named after you, and you can like keep track of their life and stuff, and they're basically your characters in the game. So RimWorld is like a real-time strategy survival simulator, I guess you could say. So it takes place like you supposedly. There's a bunch of different scenarios. With the one I'm going to be doing is called the Lost Tribe. So we're tribes people that escape from an attack of mechanical overlords. So
Very fun.
yeah, so that should be fun. I didn't stream this Thursday because I was trying to get that mod to work and it wouldn't work. And after 2 hours, I was frustrated and just said, I'm done. But
Rage.
the creator of the mod actually helped me fix it, which is way cool.
Well,
So
that's always fun. When you
yeah,
interact.
way cool that he helped me with that. So that's what will be going on Thursday. And then, yeah, Sunday, like I said, we'll be talking to Commander Gray, current leader of the Mercenaries Guild, part of the overall guild. So,
Don't know what I'm streaming tonight. I'm sure you'll find something fun.
did you beat Code Vein?
Or you could go try Blasphemous. That's also a really fun game that I've heard about.
So, but we're going to go ahead and end it there. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Appreciate all the comments and questions. Thanks for coming back, Jack Trades. I appreciate it. Sorry you're not feeling good, but hopefully...
No, it's a
gets
long
better.
game.
Yeah, okay. So I figured you hadn't beat Code Vein, but I was just checking. So
That's understandable.
But so thanks everyone for being here, and I'll see you Thursday or hopefully at least fairly Sunday.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Listen to the LARP Lounge live on Sundays at 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time at twitch.tv/Arrustar. That's twitch.tv/ARRUSTAR.